Hey guys, welcome to another morning space with me, Kalu Aja. And this week we're talking these twin topics that have really driven the news cycle today in Nigeria. It's Dangote, it's of course the Dubai visas, and they're all linked somehow with the money, with the government, and it has a direct effect, on our pocket. So I want to get someone that has really been tracking this for us, David, to come in here and just talk to us around this, the Dangote and the Dubai visa issue and all that. I'm waiting for him to hop onto the space. Once he does, I will be able to really start the conversation. I want to hear his own side of it. I have my own side of it. So I'm not sure if he's here. I'm looking at the space because I don't see him. If you guys want, I can start off with my own side of it. And then once David is here, we basically just make him a speaker. I'm sure those of us want to hear his unique take on this whole issue because he has been someone that has been tracking this down the line. So give me a quick sec. My folks are trying to get him to come on air. Yes, they've sent him a DM already. So we'll just sort of chill for a second. I don't want to start and sort of stop till he gets here. But if he doesn't, then guys, we're going to have our normal show, and I think we can. There he is. So give me a quick sec. Yes. All right. So not to keep you guys just hanging. Let's start with the Dangote issue. The Dangote, should we say Dangote refinery? Let's start with Dangote refinery. I'm sure you guys have been following the back and forth that has been happening with Nigeria, the regulator, and Dangote. Yeah, you guys have been following. And I think it's been rather sad. I would say it's been rather sad what is happening. When this news first broke, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we talked about Dangote coming out to say the Nigerian National Petroleum Commission only has 7% equity holdings in Dangote refinery, and that was unusual because I know that the Nigerian NNPC Limited had raised about 1.3 or so million dollars. Is it million or billion dollars to invest in 20% of the Dangote refinery. So they borrowed money in dollars, which they pledged oil to a third party. It's in their annual report. They borrowed to invest in Dangote refinery, 20%. It's in their annual report. So we said, okay, it's a good deal. That means that it's going to be a strategic investment by Nigeria in Dangote, and of course that would have now sort of allowed them, because they are a partner with the federal government of Nigeria and the federation, to get access to crude oil to power the refinery. So win-win for everybody. Dangote will get its capital, Nigeria will get a working refinery, and Nigerians will get cheaper petroleum products and of course all those byproducts. Then NNPC, so Dangote says it's only 7%. What has happened to the 13%? I think NNPC down the line maybe did not pay the full amount, hence Dangote only gave them 7%. So to me, those were shots fired. Then next thing, I think was the day before, I saw a video from the regulator, Mr. Farouk. He's sort of like the new one of the regulatory agencies created when we passed the Petroleum Industry Act, and he was basically talking about how Dangote number one is not licensed. This is the refinery. This is Dangote has invested 15 billion, not naira, dollars in this refinery. It's been commissioned by the president. It's been, should we say, celebrated across the world. Second largest refinery in the entire world. I think only the one in India is bigger than the one in Nigeria. It's been celebrated. So he says it's not licensed, and that it's not even complete. He says that 45% complete. That's what the regulator is saying, 45% complete. Then he says it's a monopoly. That Dangote wants to create a monopoly by asking all the Nigerian companies that buy diesel, PMS, and all to buy only from Dangote. He regulator, used the word monopoly. Then, of course, if the final killer blow, he then said that Dangote's products are below. That the quality of Dangote's products are below standard. This is a regulator speaking, mind you. So, the regulator is telling you and I that number one, Dangote is not licensed. Number two, he has not even completed the what's it called? He has not completed the refinery. And number three, what he's producing right now is inferior. So it's a bit for us that manage money. I was taken aback that the regulator would say that. Because even if everything the regulator has said was 100% correct, should he say it in public in such a forum? Do you know what the implication of that is? It just tells us that the richest man in Africa and the Nigerian government are not seeing eye to eye. I don't see Dangote going to raise huge capital now going forward from anybody in the world. Because they will question this. They'll say, listen, what's going on with you? You seem to have a country risk and a government risk against you. There seems to be a narrative now that the government of Nigeria is actively working against Mr. Dangote. And it's not just this issue. If you take your mind back, I think it was last year, Dangote's head office was raided by the EFCC for tax documents to do with the forex he received from the Central Bank of Nigeria. If you read that report particularly, Dangote said he had received the request and he had asked that he bring the document. Documents were ready. He was going to bring those documents to the EFCC and he was still raided. So when you see him being raided, you see him complaining openly, there's something going on there. You know, we're not holding forth for Dangote. We all know the quote-unquote, the brand Dangote, where he's always accused of going in and stifling competition. We are worried that what is going on with Dangote and the federal government is going to affect the FDI flow into Nigeria. So I brought an expert, David. He's not just a friend, but if you know David, if David tells me today that Arsenal would win Champions League, I'll go and believe it, because now I'm afraid, because the guy seems to say things and you think they're outlandish, then after 3 or 4 months they happen. They happen. And it's not that he's a magician. He's just simply doing what we call investigative journalism. He takes this fact, takes that fact, puts it together, and writes a report. So we're glad to have you here, David. Welcome to Money Space with me, Kalu Aja. David, for those that don't know you, could you just maybe introduce yourself before we go into the topics of the day?
Thanks for having me, Cal. Okay, so my name is David Nadine, and I'm a journalist who likes to tell the stories that nobody else wants to tell. That's a very sort of stripped down and abridged version. So let's get into it.
Excellent. David, let's start. I was talking about Dangote, how the story has changed. When I reached out to you, we're just talking about the issue of 7%, 20%. That's really was on my mind. That listen, I know you've written a lot about Dangote refinery. You've said, I'm not sure, I don't want to misquote you, but you've said to the effect that it's not ready or it's not going to work. I want you to just give me your take on the Dangote refinery. What's your issue with it, if you don't mind me using that word?
So I have two major issues with it. The first and less serious issue is that they've been lying about the timeline, or they've been happy to allow politicians use the timeline to tell lies. Specifically, the so-called commissioning that was done on I think it was May 28th last year. You were essentially commissioning something that was half done. It was a complete nonsense. It shouldn't have happened. Because I happen to have people who work there and who are also in the ecosystem, as people talk. And it was very common knowledge. What I said wasn't a controversial thing to say. It was very common knowledge within the system that for another 18 months, there's no petrol that's going to come out of this place. It's just not ready, and it's not going to be ready for some time. But because Buhari needed to cut a ribbon before he left office, so they're happy to use this half-finished thing as a ribbon cutting ceremony for a president that I thought absolutely did not deserve a ribbon cutting ceremony. right? Because in the first place, even the decision to even build the refinery in the first place and the economic circumstances that made it even possible, Buhari had nothing to do with that. This was something that kicked off in 2013, and yet you're trying to give Buhari credit for something that had nothing to do with him. So I had a problem with that, and I just pointed out that, well, when people are done with this ribbon cutting ceremony you're doing, maybe you will come back to the real world. And in the real world, the experts that I speak to, because that wasn't my opinion, it was an expert's opinion. The experts I speak to say that the earliest that this place is going to produce any petrol is sometime around the middle of 2025. And that's if you're being optimistic, right? So that's what I said, which apparently became a controversial comment to me. But I mean, here we are. The story that was told is that, before the end of June 2023, everywhere is due. Well, we're in July 2024 now. And we've not seen this due. So, but that's like the less serious issue. The more serious issue I actually have with Dangote Refinery is that, and this is not my opinion, this is from Dangote's own actions. He appeared to be trying to do to Nigeria's energy industry what he did to Nigeria's cement industry, which is essentially turn it into a one-man operation. Now, it's bad enough doing that with something systemically important like cement. For those who aren't aware, Nigeria has a housing deficit, depending on who is counting, a housing deficit of anything from 17 to 20 million houses. And a large part of the reason why that housing deficit continues to be so large is because Nigerian cement is some of the most expensive cement on the planet. Right? So Nigerians pay more for cement. So I'm currently in the UK. Nigerians pay more for cement than Brits do. The minimum wage here in Naira should be about, in monthly terms, should be roughly 2.5 million Naira. That's minimum wage here. Nigerian minimum wage that they've just announced, which I'm sure they're not going to be able to actually, actualize 70,000 Naira. But Nigerians pay more for cement than we do here, which obviously makes no sense. And then coupled with the fact that Dangote is the most profitable cement maker in the world. So I think it's sometime in 2021. I actually tweeted the data. I'll look for the tweet and pin it to this space. The typical profit per bag globally in the cement industry is anything from 8 to 13%. Dangote makes as much as 49% profit. So when you have one entity that is essentially the market maker monopoly. So I'm sure Kalu knows what a market maker monopoly is. So it's the type of monopoly that, even though technically there are other players in the market, such as BUA and Lafarge, but Dangote is so dominant, artificially dominant, that Dangote actually sets prices for the competitors. So basically, when you have that one singular entity that is setting prices of cement for its competitors and for the entire country, and it's setting prices that are the highest in the world, and it's making almost 50% profit per bag, and Nigeria has a housing deficit of 17 million, and there's so much infrastructure in Nigeria that has not been built. And meanwhile, there's one person who is profiteering off of all of that. So that's why I said, like, I've always had a problem with Dangote business model, and he was trying to export this business model, or he is trying to export this business model into energy, which is even worse, right? Because essentially what you would then have is one entity, one individual, one man having sole control over the energy market of 210 million people.
Setting prices.
That's it. Yeah, that's an actual national security threat, where one private individual has that much power. Even the government ideally shouldn't have that much power. Why would one private individual have that kind of power? So that was always, those are the two issues that I've always had with Dangote Refinery as a concept.
Gotcha. David, real quick, do you have any insight on this 20% NNPC investment in Dangote and this 7% that Dangote is claiming? What happened between 20 and 7? Was this money paid? It was in the annual report of NNPC. They raised cash, sold, used collateral of crude oil to raise that cash to be invested in Dangote. Did that money go into voicemail? What exactly happened?
So the problem you're having someone like Tinubu as your president is that this person has absolutely no respect for institutions, for due process. right? This is someone who, when shortly after he came into office, without an appropriation bill, without a finance bill, was basically, just writing memos and taking money out of accounts and spending it. And it took whistleblowers like 99% to start calling it out. When he was writing memos, someone just write a memo. Please remove $500,000 from the excess wheat grain levy accounts. We're going to spend this in New York. And there's no appropriation, there's nothing, there's no due process whatsoever. Someone just debits the money, and that's that. That's how Bola Tinubu operates. He's not a systems person at all. He's an agbero to the core. So the problem with that, with having someone like that in power, is that things that normally are supposed to be recorded every step of the way, you start hearing stories like this. So as you rightly said, that money was paid. Somewhere between where it was paid and where it was to be received, 20% turned into 7. I've heard many different versions of the story. I've tried to speak to people who are in the know. I've had someone tell me that I should take it to a video. Obviously, there's no way to prove this, which is why I didn't put this out, because I can't prove it independently. If you challenge me, I cannot prove it. I've had someone tell me categorically that the difference between that 7% and that 20%, which is, I think, is over $1 billion, that basically Tinubu knows what happened to that money. Essentially implying that Tinubu pocketed money. Now, I have no way of proving that. But the point is, even for the fact that it's possible for someone to make such an accusation, and there's nothing you can refer to that can even tell you that can immediately say, categorically that this isn't true. I think that says it all. So basically, we have a motor packed out in Aso Rock, who is doing and undoing as he sees fit. So whatever due process that we managed to put in place since 1999, it's all coming unstuck now, unfortunately.
So what is the issue?
So short answer is we have no idea.
We have no idea where the money is going. And NNPC, of course, should be able to come out and tell us that if these monies were raised, borrowed from the NNPC's balance sheet, and we own NNPC, then we should be very, very clear if we own 20% of Dangote or 7% of Dangote. Now to Dangote, you've talked about the timelines and the commissioning and all that. Where are we right now with Dangote? We know it's not commissioned. If we follow the words of the regulator, it's 45% commissioned. We know PMS on the streets of Lagos have gone up in price. What's the end game? Is the NNPC's refinery going to work before Dangote's refinery works? They've said it's going to work next month. Do you have any end game for NNPC refinery, Dangote refinery, and if prices are going to come down for the ordinary Nigerian paying for PMS on the streets?
Okay, so there's actually a tweet that I'm looking for, which I'm going to post pinned to the Jumbotron, which I think will provide some context for what I'm about to say. Essentially, if you look at I think the volume of Dangote refinery seems to be 650,000 barrels per day. It's by quite some distance the largest in the entire EMEA region, if not the entire world. So there's a graphic from Bloomberg. It's actually in the tweet that I'm looking for. That's why I was pinning that tweet. That shows you the difference in capacity between Dangote refinery and then the next largest, which is I think in Rotterdam. I think it's owned by Shell. And that one does I think 300 or 400 and something thousand. It's such a huge gap. Basically, if Dangote refinery were to come upstream fully and do everything that it has been promising to do since 2013, it's not just something that will have an effect on Nigeria. It will create shockwaves in the global oil market. And I believe, based on precedents, that the international oil majors or the existing players are not going to be happy with that. Because bear in mind that Dangote is not part of the existing energy industry. This is his first real foray into the international oil market. So from their point of view, he's not part of their cartel. So he's trying to muscle in on their territory, and not just muscle in, basically take the biggest bite, a bigger bite than any of them has ever taken. So again, I have no way of proving this, but my suspicion is that this very clear antagonism of Tinubu's government toward the Dangote refinery might not entirely just be about local politics. There might be the unseen hand of international involvement here. Meaning that, of course, we know what Tinubu is and who he represents, right? We don't need to go into that in this space because that's not what the space is about. But I suspect that it's very likely there is an element of international involvement here, that the international oil market probably is not happy with the prospect of Dangote sort of muscling in and reducing everybody's profits, basically. Right? They're probably not going to be happy about it. So it's probably in their, it is in their interest for the refinery to just get locked up in a series of disputes and never-ending controversies and whatnot, so that it doesn't actually come to market. Again, it's very difficult to prove this because the meetings where these things are discussed, nobody takes minutes of those meetings and posts them online. Nobody reports them. They're not reported in the Guardian newspaper. So it's just a lot of the time you have to sort of do an assessment of what is the situation, who benefits, who stands to lose, and then basically make a logical deduction from that, which is what I'm doing.
And again, if we all know that a regulator cannot come out and say that Dangote is unlicensed and is producing inferior products, he just doesn't come out on an afternoon in Lagos and says it without quote unquote a green light to say it. It's impossible. Hence the question that really, who benefits if there is no Dangote refinery in Nigeria? Is it the importers? Because it looks like a battle of the cartels here. You have the IOC cartels, you have the Dangote cartel, then you have the oil, the PMS importers cartel. And in between this, there's a truth somewhere that someone's going to benefit from Dangote refinery not working going forward, period.
So I just pinned the tweets that I was talking about. So if you look at the graphic in that tweet, I think that graphic contains the answer to your question, to be honest. Basically, take a look at the names on that graphic. And I think you have the list of enemies that Aliko Dangote has in the oil industry. So, good luck to him. I mean, there's somebody who can take on this type of enemy. It's probably him. So, good luck to him. That's all I have to say.
Good luck to him. Okay, I see it there. It's a miles, by a wide mile. You see Dangote by a wide mile. So, I mean, in banking, Dangote will be referred to as a too big to fail institution, which means if you like him, you hate him, he is too big to fail. I have no currency or no faith in the NNPC's refineries. I think they are playing mechanical. They are saying it's mechanically ready to refine. I don't know what that means. If it's ready, it's ready. What's the mechanical part, or is there a non-mechanical part? So if Dangote is too big to fail and the government of Nigeria is seen to be going after Dangote, the conspiracy theories would tell you that somebody wants to keep on importing PMS. If you go to the budget of Nigeria, PMS imports are the single largest imports or expense in the Federation of Nigeria. It's because Nigeria imports PMS that the Naira is weak. We can't build roads. I'm just being all things being equal here. We can't build roads and we have a budget deficit. If you stop imports of PMS, the economy improves. If imports of PMS continue, the economy does not improve. So I leave the question there for everyone to think about. Who is interested in the economy not improving? Who has removed fuel subsidies and has reintroduced fuel subsidies? I think it's right there. Nigeria is paying about 3.5 billion, David. That's from Reuters. That's the projection for what we're going to pay this year. Who is benefiting? I think that would answer itself if we get that answer. Who is benefiting from Nigeria's continual imports of PMS? But David, let me take you to another topic, still on Dangote. Dangote has a urea fertilizer company. A farmer told me that Nigerian farmers still cannot get urea fertilizer because Dangote is exporting all that urea outside the country to Brazil, to the US, to get crude oil. Dangote said the other day that he didn't get any incentive from the federal government when he built his refinery. But I know for a fact that the CBN gave Dangote subsidized dollars from that's Mr. Emefiele, to build the refinery. Whilst we quote unquote say Dangote should be given preferential treatment because it favors Nigeria, should Dangote himself be under the microscope because Nigeria has built that refinery with our own tax, holidays to him? Should he do more for the country? Is my question. What's your take? CBN gave him dollars. He got the land, even if it's at 100 million naira, he still got land to build his refinery, but he built that refinery with CBN subsidized dollars at a point. Should he do more for the nation?
So, this was why earlier in the day when I commented about this, I referenced the examples of Japan and South Korea. Now, when they were going into their own industrialization era after the Second World War, they had their own Dangotes. And they had similar problems to the problems that we are having because of the existence of the Dangote. But they turned their problem into solutions. So instead of trying to destroy their Dangotes, which is going to cause a lot of unnecessary economic devastation, and it's just not in anybody's interest to do that. They rather brought them in and made them part of their economic strategy. So in South Korea, you have these, I think they call them cables.
The Hyundais and all.
Your Hyundais, your Samsungs, who are almost literally above the law in South Korea, basically, because of how economically important they are. In Japan, there's something similar, right? So your Mitsubishis, your Toyotas, they have special status. It was a similar arrangement, and the reason they did that was because they understood that there has to be the best of both worlds. So obviously, if you're trying to build an economy, the most efficient way of moving fast and getting things done is ensuring that the private sector is in charge. However, the problem with the private sector is that its sole motivation is to make money. It's not benevolent. So sometimes the easiest way to make money, the most efficient way to make money is not the best. It's not in the best interest of the country. So then they found a way to blend it. So we are bringing in the energy and the motivation of the private sector, the profit incentive, but we are maintaining a strong state presence here that makes it such that there are certain things that you have to do, you are required to do by law. Such that it's no longer a case of somebody appealing to anybody's patriotism to do more for the country or not do more for the country. It's something that is required by law that you have to do this. I think that if Nigeria were a serious country, that's what it would be doing with entities like Dangote. Because to industrialize, what are the major economic processes that are needed to become a true industrial economy? You need to produce concrete, which you do. You need to produce energy and to supply energy, which we do, or which we are on the verge of doing, supposedly. You need to be able to feed yourself, which is where the urea fertilizer thing comes into play. And you need to be able to produce steel. And if you notice, what all those four things have in common is that Dangote has either invested in them or tried to invest in them. Which means that he's seeing a similar picture, but not from an altruistic perspective. But he's simply seeing it as Nigeria is an economy that is due for industrialization soon, and is positioning himself to be the person who benefits the most from it. Which is neither a good thing nor a bad thing, because again, he's not doing it for the benefit of Nigerians. He's doing it to make money, to make profits, right? So it's then up to the Nigerian government to then step in and make it such that by law, Dangote is required to do certain things by law. Such that, and then it's not just about taking, because that's another important point. The Nigerian government has this very bad habit of treating private business entities like they are piggy banks. So you just walk in and you shake them down whenever you need money. The Nigerian government needs to see its relationship with them more as a symbiosis, as a social contract. So yes, you're going to require them to do certain things by law, but in return, there are certain things that you also, or certain services you also have to deliver to them, or there's special status that you have to deliver to them, or there's tax incentives. There has to be something. There has to be a quid pro quo. That's how business works, right? That's what they did in Korea. That's what they did in Japan. There's nothing magical about it. It's the obvious thing to do. But Nigeria is Nigeria, so
Yeah.
as they always say, if someone explains Nigeria to you and you understood it, then they didn't explain it well.
Gotcha. David, let's go to Dubai now. This to Dubai, the UAE, the visa, and all that. You are the first guy that I saw that. I mean, let's give you the background. A long time ago, Nigerians used to go to Dubai, no problems. Then Nigeria couldn't pay her FX bills, so Dubai, in a strange way, the Emirates airline could not get paid by the Central Bank of Nigeria for the tickets they had sold to Nigeria. They couldn't get dollars to repatriate their funds. Emirates stopped flying into Nigeria, and the Emiratis sort of tied the Emirates into visas to Nigeria. So when Emirates left, they also stopped issuing visas to Nigeria. They sort of coupled them together. And since Tinubu has been in power, he went there. We got the announcement visas were going to be allowed or given to Nigeria. The Emiratis said no, it's not going to happen. So we haven't gotten those visas back. Now we now hear that Nigerians are going to get the visas to go to Dubai, but we saw a list of onerous issues. Before you even put up yours, I mean, they are saying you have to put down 640,000 naira non refundable, $10,000 in your account untouched for 6 months. Then you have to even pay with a credit card, not debit card, credit card. So it looks like they're saying no to us without saying no to us. Then you drop the banger. You basically have said that the site, that 640, this was you did exclusive on this. That it's not even the Dubai guys asking for 640. It looks like it's our own side taking advantage of this quest for Nigerians to travel to Dubai to create a paywall where people can basically get 640K from Nigerians and just basically share it and then move on. So give us your what's happening in this Dubai thing, please.
Yeah, so you've given a pretty accurate summary of what happened. Some enterprising, quote unquote, person saw an opportunity to to live a soft boy life, basically. Um, since apparently the idea is that Nigerians who travel to Dubai for leisure purposes are liquid. So let's get our own share, which is a common way of making money in the Nigerian public space. So as you may know, my dad used to be a senior civil servant back in the day before he retired. So I'm very familiar with how this works. Well, I was born and pretty much raised within the Nigerian government um, structure. So I understand how the public sector works in Nigeria. How you make money if you have access to power in Nigeria. You don't necessarily have to be in office, but if you have access to someone that's in office, you have a very good relationship with someone that's in office, and you can make suggestions and they will listen. How you make money is that, say metaphorically speaking, there's a road. People have been using this road for decades. There is no problem. They go, they come. The road is there. It's open to everybody. You then build a gate and put it in the middle of the road, and then start charging people to pass through the gate. You have created no value whatsoever.
Hmm.
None. The road was there before the gate. The gate does not add any value to the road or to the people plying the road. It's just a gate you put up randomly. And you're charging people for it, and you're going to make a ton of money by doing that. That's like a classic Nigerian public sector scam. You create arbitrage opportunities by creating inefficiencies or creating bottlenecks artificially where they don't need to exist. So this is a prime example of that. The UAE authorities, when the cable reached out to them, they were very clear that yes, the visa ban is over, but if you want to apply for a UAE visa, the same way you've always been able to apply for a UAE visa is how you do it. There's a process, and the actual application fee in Naira is not up to 90,000 Naira. That has always been the case, and this is how you do it. Someone looked at that open road and said, let's build our gate. Because the people who apply in this road, the people who fly to Dubai are people who have money. So let's build our gates and let's skim some off the top. I guess the mistake was that instead of skimming off the top, in the classic Nigerian breed, instead of trying to milk the cow, they rather try to cut open the udder of the cow, basically, which is how come it even raised so much suspicion. I believe if it was like if they had made like 20,000 naira or something.
Nobody would have noticed.
Nobody really have noticed or even minded. But because it's that kind of like noticeable amount, nobody charges you that amount for for a visa application. Not the US. Not what? Where is that coming from? For a visitor's visa, nobody does that. So it was actually someone on Twitter who drew my attention to it. That you know what, I have no way of proving this, but I'm sure that this money is not going to the UAE government. And I thought, that's an interesting hypothesis. Let me go down this rabbit hole a bit. I was literally in bed on my phone. I didn't plan it to be a story or anything. I was just sort of following the rabbit hole. So I checked out the website, and the first thing that jumped out of the page at me was that this thing is an attempt to misrepresent something, because the UAE, the official website, they're always end with .gov.ae. Everybody knows that. But this website was documentverificationhub.ae. .ae is a private domain. Anybody can own a .ae domain. It's not a UAE government domain. So this is a private website which is somehow being cleverly misrepresented as a UAE government website. There's no reason why a UAE government application would run on a .ae domain. It just wouldn't. It would be .gov.ae. So what's really going on here? So I got interested, and I just basically Googled like who is scam advice. So I just wanted to know what's going on here. The first I think the scam advisor that came up first, and the first thing I saw was the actual owner of this domain is hiding their identity using a paid service. Then I was like, okay, I really want to know what's going on here now. So I really followed the rabbit hole, and then I eventually found a domain registry where the name of the person who registered the website was listed, and it's some Canadian fellow called John Gouffran. So I googled him, who is this person? And checked out his LinkedIn. So okay, he's the CTO at a company called Spanish IT company called Global Voice Group. So who is Global Voice Group? Went down the rabbit hole, checked out the website. First thing I noticed, this is a Spanish IT company. Most of their team is African. Why is that? Okay. Checked out their About Us page, and I checked out the guy, his own article on the website, and I realized this company is basically the Spanish version of Alpha Beta Consulting. It's a government revenue funnel. That's what it is, and it's a government revenue funnel that specializes in African jurisdictions. In fact, the company only appears to work only in Africa. So, like at this point, all the alarm bells started ringing. That there's clearly someone in Nigeria behind this, a private entity in Nigeria behind this, that has misrepresented this private revenue funnel and private websites as the UAE government process. And somehow the Minister of Information and the Ministry of Information's official media platforms have put this information out. And, people are going to start paying into this platform, which has nothing to do with the UAE government. So I immediately raised the alarm and I put it out there. And that's basically what happened. Then the cable, I think a few hours later, the cable then reached out to the UAE embassy to sort of do their own secondary verification. And UAE's the official statement that came back from the embassy, which I think said it all. The statement basically said, this does not have anything to do with us, we're not aware of this. Which is not diplomatic language, right? Because normally they wouldn't want to cause embarrassment to their counterparty government. So normally they would just fob you off with some template response that doesn't say anything. But in this case, they said openly, this has nothing to do with us. Which is a diplomatic way of saying whatever is going on between you people and your government, please don't involve us. Stop disturbing us. Which, again, I think that says it all about how the UAE government even thinks of Nigeria and its government right now.
Gotcha. So, I mean, David, I want you to go deeper in this. Who announced this visa? This visa 640, was it on the government website, the Nigerian government website asking us to pay?
So I haven't actually gone through the payment process because I don't intend to waste my 740K on finding out who is behind something. However, I did say to someone who apparently did go through the payments, and apparently the payment gateway is Flutterwave.
Okay.
Which I think tells the story on its own. So clearly, this is a Nigerian thing.
So Flutterwave is
money is going.
Is the
Flutterwave is the payment gateway, yes.
But who is getting the money? Is it Nigerian government? Did Nigerian government ask Nigerians to pay? I'm trying to get who actually
it's
put
not
this.
the Nigerian government. That's the thing. It's a private entity.
To get a visa.
It's a private entity.
Okay. But the Minister of Aviation.
The idea is, so I'm guessing what would have happened is that the UAE would have told their Nigerian counterparts that a large part of the reason why we impose the visa ban is because Nigerians are coming to the UAE using fake documentation, which, to be fair, was a thing, was a problem. So you have to find a way of filtering out fraudulent visa applications or fraudulent documents before they get sent to us, so that we don't have these problems going forward. So I'm guessing what the Nigerians would have then told their UAE counterparts is that, okay, we'll set up a document verification system to ensure that only legitimate applications come through to you. Which is why the UAE, if you notice, the UAE embassy actually retweeted the post from the Minister of Information. Because they probably didn't see anything, but they probably didn't realize there was some, Oboju involved there. But in the midst of all this, some clever, enterprising fellow has realized that, okay, there's an opportunity there's an arbitrage opportunity here. There's a chance to build a gate where it doesn't need to exist. And there's a chance to make some money out of this thing. So you have this unknown private, because we still don't know who the ultimate beneficial private entity is. All we know is that the payment gateway is Flutterwave. The payment funnel is Global Voice Group, which works with these sort of pseudo public, entities that raise money from these sort of processes. And we still don't know who the actual ultimate beneficiary is. There might be someone linked to the Minister of Information. Someone has suggested I could be Sheyi Tinubu. I have no way of knowing or verifying that. All we know is that it's someone close to power.
Yeah, so David, I can't pick up and say I want to process US visas or UK visas or Dubai visas. It's not possible. So somehow, even if it's for a visa for a different country, the Nigerian government must approve me to receive passports or otherwise. So where I'm trying to go is to tie someone in government to this 640, because there is not even the person in the ministry. There has to be, is it immigration? There has to be someone has approved that you can do this through this app. The minister tweeted it, said we're back on getting business with UAE Dubai today. But who, I don't know, but who is the person that actually sold this? You've uncovered the small man behind the curtains, Wizard of Oz. But who is the person that actually sold? Is it the Minister of Aviation? I mean, the official person. Who is that person? Do you have an answer for that?
No, I do not. Wow. We absolutely do not know.
Okay. All right. So what's happening now? I saw the Dubai guys come out to sort of do a cleanup and say that their total cost for their visa is not, in effect, saying it's not all that $10,000 for 6 months and all that. So if I want to apply for visa today, do I still need 640? Has it been taken down, or are people still paying to this shadowy guy?
If you're gonna apply for a UAE visa, follow what the UAE government said. Simple as that.
Interesting.
So ignore whatever the foreign ministry said. Go with what the UAE government said, because they are the ones who are in a position to say what you should and should not do. Simple as that.
Interesting. David, we'll spend at least 45 minutes with you, David. Just a quick breaking news. I'm reading online that Dangote has asked the NNPC to buy him out. So he's offering the 650 billion refinery to the NNPC. And I'm quoting him, let the NNPC buy me out and run the refinery the best way they can. They have labeled me a monopolist. That is incorrect and an unfair allegation, but it's okay. If they buy me out, at least their so-called monopolists will be out of the way. Interesting times, Nigeria. NNPC doesn't have 15 billion. And I think this is sad, and this is where I was going to when I saw this news, and I said I was going to buy NNPC refinery, but I'm going to pause till I see what's happening. This is what I was afraid of. Clearly, Dangote is getting out. I think these comments have gotten to him, and I think he realizes he's not fighting the regulator. I think there are forces that are fighting him, and I think he has thrown in the towel. The best this one pass him, as we will say in Nigeria. David, any comments on that?
Well, I'm struggling to take that in because that's actually a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so first of all, even if the NNPC had the money, which it don't, I don't think there's anybody who is exactly excited at the prospect of NNPC taking over Dangote Refinery. Because I think the entire reason why Dangote Refinery needed to exist in the first place was because we all agreed that after decades of turnaround maintenance after turnaround maintenance, it's clear that the NNPC has no intention of actually running a government-run refinery. They have no intention of doing that. So if the NNPC were to act, if this were to actually happen, this would be actually very, 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 very bad news for Nigeria.
Yes, and that refinery will become like the other four.
Ajaokuta still basically.
Jesus H. Christ. David, you spoiled the whole space of, I tweeted Ajaokuta and Dangote refineries. The parallels are so similar. It's unbelievable. Ajaokuta has failed today because of location. We were importing critical elements. We didn't have the critical elements. And of course, just regulatory incompetence. How can Nigeria explain to our grandchildren that someone built a 15 billion refinery and we are talking that the person, instead of being celebrated and given a knighthood, is is selling the thing? That's the guy is throwing the towel. Man. So we've done Landmark. The Landmark guy came from abroad, invested money in Nigeria. Look at what happened to him. Dangote, no matter what you say about the guy, he invested that money in Nigeria. Look at what's happened to the guy. So who will now wake up tomorrow and go and borrow $1 billion and invest in Nigeria? This is my fear. My fear. David, we have a lot to put on to ask you questions. Allow me to start to add them, to make a comment and to ask you questions if you don't mind. Yeah. Let's start with Dr. Obia Reri. Doctor, you've been here. You've heard David walk us through the Dubai visa. You've also heard the Dangote issues and all that. What's your take? Let me also get your own take on Dangote. I get the point about Dangote being a quote-unquote, I want it all. But what's your take on what's going on? He's now offering NNPC to buy him out. It's like the man wants to go retire earlier than usual. Doctor, what's your take? Obia?
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you, David, for the good job you've done. And Carlo, the truth is, you raised an issue. You said one of the reasons why, if we continue importing PMS, we might not be able to build roads. We are not building roads not because we are importing PMS. We are not building roads because half of what we claim to be importing are criminally stolen out of Nigeria. We must situate this well, Carlo. In Nigeria, from 1999 till now, the first time in the history of this country that we've seen us exporting crude oil and not seeing the monies coming to Nigeria, or importing what was never actually brought into this country started under Jonathan and assumed a monstrous proportion under the Buhari regime. If you look closely, President Olusegun Obasanjo, when he became president, did not inherit an El Dorado economy. Output then was about 1.8 million barrels a day, thereabouts. We did not have any huge oil reserve. We only had about $5 billion, $3.9 billion of that reserve in Cuba. We had a huge external debt of about $32 billion that was unserviceable. What Obasanjo did was and as at that time, the barrel of crude oil, the average price of barrel of crude oil between 1999 to 2003, Obasanjo's first term, was about the highest was about $25 per barrel. In fact, when Obasanjo became president, crude oil was selling at $17.35. But what Obasanjo did was very simple. Obasanjo is not the kind of, you will not rank him to be a messiah or a saint. But Obasanjo, as much as possible, ensured that our crude oil resources were not stolen. And by the time he left power, he was able to ramp it up to about 2.2 million barrels a day. On the downstream sector, Obasanjo also ensured that there were no leakages like we had under the Ziani, and then the criminal Buhari gang and the bandits that we have now in power. Under Obasanjo, from 1999 to 2007, the highest we spent importing white petroleum from the PMS was about 28 million liters a day. That was our consumption then. And remember that under Obasanjo, between 2005 2007, we had a very buoyant middle class population of almost about 3 million Nigerians who could afford income of about $120,000 to $160,000 a year. It was a time Nigerians were migrating from the Wall Street to come and work here in Nigeria. People were coming from Europe, from every part of the world. Because Obasanjo was able to pay off our external debt after negotiation, built up a reserve of $45 billion. We were paying subsidies. The parents were working there. There were a lot of things being done in Nigeria. Basically, what has happened, and which we must not lose sight of, is that this criminal Posey regime started in 2015. We are not building roads because our crude oil, they are stealing it like sweet. When Jonathan handed over to Buhari, our output was 2.4 million barrels a day, crude and condensate. Even Kachukwu, when he became the Minister of State at the NNPC DMD, did a study and came up that our actual daily consumption was between 32 to 38 million liters a day. This issue of we are importing 66 million liters, we are importing 61 million liters, we are consuming it in a day, was actually part of the criminal scheme of the gangsters that Buhari brought on board. So I want us to split this well. Our total daily consumption in Nigeria is not more than 38 million liters a day. Even as at February, the GPR, which is now the NMDPR rate, told us that our daily consumption was at 8 million. Even that at 8 million was being contested. If you look at other developed economies, from the US to the UK to South Africa, even our neighboring countries, look at the average consumption figure. As at 2002, the US daily consumption of PMS was about 1.4 billion liters a day. If you look at the trajectory from 2002 to 2014, you could see that their daily consumption never shifted above 5-10%. It is the same thing across the other nations of the world, developing or non-developing. But Nigeria is the only place that the daily PMS consumption moved a whooping 175% over a period of 14 years because of one thing. Most of the things we claim to be imported in Nigeria are not being imported. And yet they are stealing subsidy on top of it. So basically what you're seeing happen there is a very painful thing. While like Aliko may not be, like we say, the normal speak and span businessman. But the truth is, and we must concede to him, of this man has invested here in Nigeria. This man, unlike others that went to Dubai to go and buy properties, buy hotels elsewhere in South Africa, this man has invested his blood and skin in the Nigerian economy. In as much as some of us may not agree with every of his business practices, but one thing you must give to him is that patriotism, that desire to invest everything here in Nigeria, which has value. Unlike the kind of people that we have at NMPC, at NNDPRA, even those who purport to govern us, insane claims. That day that Farouk Ahmed made that statement was the day he will have been asked to resign. Insane claims. The same way MFL is being prosecuted. In the same way that those in NNPC, the NMCC will have been arrested and being prosecuted for what they have done over the last 8 years. You know, the truth is, like Farouk will always say, this is a fight that is beyond the normal fight.
Yeah.
If you dig deeper, what you're experiencing now is actually a fight of interest
Yeah.
between those who are in power who wants to grab part of the oil and gas industry and this man who has sunk in his investment and who is also trying to control the industry in a monopolistic fashion.
But
The
Doc.
truth is, this fight is not for the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians. And I just pray that God will help us. One day, if every one of us will agree to have a government that will have the interest of Nigerians at heart, I yield the mic.
I mean, David is we are saying this casually, but the guy invested 15 billion, and that guy is walking away from that investment, or wants to walk away from that investment. 15 billion. What are we talking? You know, do you guys understand what's going on? Who will invest in Nigeria? Who? Ken, hop in here. David, yeah, I mean, nobody. I mean, it's nobody. If let me give you a story of Dangote. This is when I was in secondary school. I was watching under Abacha's government. Mr. Anthony Ani was giving the budget speech. I've said giving the story before. It's a true story. Mr. Anthony Ani was giving the budget speech. In the budget speech, Mr. Anthony Ani, the budget has been released. Anthony Ani was giving the breakdown of the budget. He said in that budget speech, the import of rice has been banned. When he said it, there was a murmur in the crowd. Then he continued talking. Give it about 30 or 45 minutes. This was a live show. Someone came to Mr. Anthony Ani and gave him a note. Mr. Anthony Ani read the note, put the note down, kept on talking and says, I want to correct something I said. Imports of rice has not been banned. Go and look for it. This is it. I watched this thing live. If you don't know, Mr. Dangote made his money from the imports of rice. So essentially, during a budget speech, the Minister of Finance announced that that rice has been banned. He didn't say it there. It was in the budget passed by the head of state then, which was Abacha. Abacha banned rice. As they were talking, they gave the Minister of Finance a note and told him to unban rice as he was talking. So all the budget provisions for that year, of course, has gone on live TV. But in 2024, Dangote says, I can't fight whatever power is fighting me. I want to get cashed out. I'll go back to my whatever, to import or whatever. I think that's what's going on in this country now. That Dangote cannot do business in this country, in this climate. Ken, what's on your mind? Thanks, David. Serious matter.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, go ahead.
To be honest, I'm not happy today. I mean, when I saw this event unfolding yesterday, and I followed keenly the development of this refinery ever since when Dangote announced it, and gave that interview with Richard Quest on CNN. I've been following to know exactly how the refinery has been being developed. And yes, I have people that work there, and I'm an engineer. I understand the technicalities when these people talk, and what it entails. What I have heard with regards to the development of that complex, shows that there are issues. There are technical issues, there are engineering issues, and that is fine. It's not a problem. When you develop a multi-billion-dollar project, they are complex. Challenges can come, and you are there to solve them. But what I see here, to be honest, Carlo, and everyone that has spoken, and everyone listening, what I've seen here as a patriotic Nigerian, what I see here is, there are issues on ground that is not being addressed by the Dangote Group, and for a regulator and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency to come out and issue that statement, it is weighty. And the reason why I say that is that this refinery, before it even started construction, an EIA must have been done and implemented and signed and approved by the Federal Ministry of Environment.
And that EIA will set certain limits, certain standards, certain expectations and specifications with regards to the products that will come out of there and how it will affect the environment. Those should have been spelled out. Now, for these regulators to come out and say that the diesel coming out from that complex is even worse than
imports. Yeah.
What is coming from outside. And Carlo, I've said it on one of your spaces that the diesel we get from Europe is the dirtiest in the world. And I explained the origin to that, why it is dirty and there's a market for it.
Let's have it quickly so we can get others speaking, yeah?
Yes. So to be honest, what I'm going to say here is that the group, the Dangote group, they are seeing that what they need to do to correct the error, to correct the mistake, the engineering mistake, to bring these products to where they are supposed to be, is going to cost a lot of money. And not willing to. And let's not forget, this
wait. Are you saying it's an engineering mistake?
Like I said, I don't want to say many things. I mean, it's something that is evolving, and I have people that have worked there, and there are some things. There are some things that I heard over 2 years ago that, to be honest, there are things that can be solved. Yes, it's going to cost money, but they can be solved. This is a multi-billion-dollar project. Things go wrong. When things go wrong, you can fix them. And fixing them at that point, yes, it's going to be expensive, but the duty is on you to fix them. Okay. So for a regulator to come out and tell you that your pre-commissioning is just a fees, there is still commissioning. What this man did the last time with Buhari, it's just for a show. That's not commissioning. You have to do pre-commissioning. You must be issued certificate before you proceed to the next phase, which is commissioning. So for them to come out and say they're only 45% they've only done 45% of the pre-commissioning at this stage since they did the official, I would say, unofficial commissioning.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about months now. We're talking about more than 9 months, more than 10 months, and the issue has still not been solved.
Yeah.
We're still at 45. So it shows that there's a big issue. There's a big issue.
Can you scare? Yes. You're scaring us more. You're scaring us more by saying it's even an engineering issue. I now have to pull that thread. I'm going to pull that thread. I never thought about that thread. I'm going to have to pull that thread. Ken, David, someone just sent me that the link to that visa is still on the minister's X account. So the aviation minister still has the link that includes that 640,000 naira. It's still on his X account. So this was a question I was really trying to get to. If the minister of Nigeria, has that link on his X account, that's an endorsement, and the minister cannot tell us who is getting that 640. You have, but can the minister tell us who is getting paid that 640,000 and if he has any interest in that 640,000? I'm not sure if David, if you want to comment on that. Okay, David is.
Well, sorry, I was accepting the co-host thing, but it took a while.
Oh no, yeah.
Well, what I think is happening is what the Nigerian government typically does when it's caught with its pants down and it doesn't actually have any defense and it can't accuse you of lying or something. He just covers his eyes and just pretends that the thing didn't happen. So ever since the UAE, the Emirati authorities came out and said that this website has nothing to do with them, there has been no statement, no response, nothing on the Nigerian government. No attempt to clarify, nothing. They just, because there's no way to defend it. They've been caught in the middle of a scam, and there's just no way to defend it. So it's just, let's just keep quiet, and eventually people will forget. Now, if the minister goes back and deletes his tweets, that in itself will feed the story, because that's an indication that they've been caught. So it's just, let's wait. These people, their attention span is very short. Even 4 days, they'll move on to something else. And they're right. We are moving on to something else.
But you're going to pay 640,000. You can't move on to something else if you are paying 640,000 naira that you don't even know where it's going to go to. That's going to be, whenever you pay that amount of money, it's going to be top of mind. That's essentially it. It's going to be top of mind. David, let's get to Oluwole. I don't know, Oluwole John Crowder. Oluwole, can you go direct to the question? What's on your mind? We're talking Dubai, we're talking Dangote, lots of breaking news. I also see President Biden has also dropped out of the race and has endorsed Kamala Harris. I don't know if that means anything to the space, but it is what it is. Oluwole, are you ready to speak? Oluwole John Crowder. All right, Akin, you've got the floor, Akin. Please go ahead, Akin.
Yes, thank you for bringing me on. So I want to say some things. Personally, I don't have any sympathy for Dangote. One iota of sympathy for him. I think all of what he's doing currently is a spectacle. It is a game that he's playing. He's riling up nationalists or nationalistic fervor, nationalistic feelings to basically ensure that Nigerians aren't asking the important questions. First of all, this is not a person. Thank goodness you mentioned the whole thing about the rice importation thing. You and I know that what tends to happen is any industry he gets into, you find funny things start to happen. Then somehow they'll bring up something. The government will bring up something. Say, oh, for that reason, these so-called people can only import, or these people, or you can't import into the country, effectively giving him a monopoly. They will give him implicit, explicit, usually implicit subsidies. In the case of the refinery, then they used our FX, gave him a subsidized rates. You had the whole thing of even the land that was even bought self. Yes, it's 7 times as large as VI. But then the question you now need to ask yourself: did they do the environmental assessment test? Because now they are selling properties around that area and everything. Did they do the needful in terms of environmental assessment so that people are not staying around and all the other pollution issues? We don't really know those things. Thank goodness Ken raised the issue of engineering issues. The thing is, he's riling up nationalist sentiment, and unfortunately, we are getting a lot of Nigerians. Unfortunately, I will add David to part of this, that are literally buying what he's saying hook, line, and sinker. I'm not trying to attack David or anything. I'm just trying to say that you even get the press being with him. He's saying things like, oh, he's not a monopoly, he's going to leave. Sorry, he's throwing a hissy fit. This is a hissy fit. He's not going to leave that market. Like the sunk cost is too much for him to just say, oh, I'm upping and leaving. He's doing a hissy fit. He's going to continue in the market. He's trying to get the government to protect him from foreign competition, which will entail things like bringing fuel in, so there'll be a curb of that, curb of people that can enter the markets and all these other things, so that you'll be able to replicate the supernormal profits that they're having in cement, in oil. We also know this, that if you look at even things like spaghetti, you see some of the other things that they even do. These are not yes, he's one of the top producers, but most Nigerians don't buy those things that his companies make. It's because they feel that it's not the top quality stuff that they are producing. With the issue of cement, we're told then that, oh, protect these guys. They will improve production. They will increase this, increase that. Last year, when the government called them in, the whole is it 3 or 4 of them for meeting, because they hiked the price of cement. They promised they'll bring it down. They brought it down for a bit. They also promised that they were going to increase production. Did they do so? No. They've been saying this thing for years upon years upon years. They are literally creating shortages throughout the Nigerian economy. And it's unfortunate that a lot of the things that he has been doing in the past is now coming back to bite him, because now we're having the worst inflation since the Abacha era. So, of course, he can't really hide anymore. The government can easily cut him to side. And I'm glad that he's being cut to size.
But I can define cut to size. What's going on? The guy has built
So
a refinery. I
no,
mean,
so the thing is, he has built refinery doesn't mean he needs to get a monopoly on it. It doesn't mean that he needs to get preferential treatment.
but there are four other.
It's
Oh, I can again. I'm just pushing back and just have a conversation, right?
Okay.
There are four other refineries in Nigeria. There's one in Niger
So we're
Delta.
talking about four other refineries. Four other refineries that are barely working. I think the last figures I saw is
But who
about
owns them?
6,000 liters.
Yeah,
or
but
so.
you know who owns them, Aki? Sorry, I'm not interrupting you. You know who owns them? NNPC. So the guy that owns four refineries that ground them to a halt is accusing the guy that just come on the block that he's a monopolist. If the four refineries were working, there would be no monopoly. So it's like they're pushing Dangote and telling him where to fall.
The truth is, if the four refineries are working, he will still be a monopolist.
How?
Because they will find ways.
How?
In which they are going to limit competition
No, but how
in
would
his
he?
favor.
Aki,
This has
how?
happened throughout his
Yeah, but
career.
Aki, how would he? Like again.
He has larger capacity. He has
No,
larger
but
capacity than
but
all of them put
doctor,
together.
I get you. But Dr. Berry just said total demand is 38 million barrels a day. Again, when he came into cement, he said that there was only Ashaka, Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, and Lafarge. That's why he could come in and do out capacity and become the market leader. That's what he did with cement. So when he goes somewhere and there's no one there, he thrives. He went into banking. You know, he went into banking. He owned Liberty Bank. He left because he couldn't take.
Because there was competition.
Good.
Because
Good.
he doesn't thrive with competition.
So the point I'm making is that if NNPC had four functional refineries and he brought his, how would there not be competition?
Okay, let me tell you why there will not be competition. So the thing is, he first of all will have more capacity than at least two or three of them put together. So he will have a capacity advantage, meaning that he can charge so he can leverage his economies of scale to charge at lower prices and probably to a certain extent eat into market share. But that's a bit hypothetical. The thing also too is that he's complaining about who is not being given oil as his agreement with NNPC has said. Now the thing is, even when Buhari was going to commission the refinery last year or even 2 years ago, there were already loans that the NNPC were taking out that were backed by Nigeria's crude supply. So this is not something that he had just seen this year, but he continued and now.
You're not
he's
asking a
now
question.
going to make it
I can.
that is new. It is not new.
Just again, we have to move on, right? But I'm just making a point again, and I have to make that point that NNPC owns four refineries. If NNPC's refineries were working, there will be no monopoly. So NNPC has ground their refineries to a halt and are now accusing this guy of running a monopoly. Let's assume you are correct and Dangote is a monopolist. He's only a monopolist because the NNPC's refineries are not working. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, so quickly, I want to add something. The thing is that while I agree with the current government, about how they are actually exposing him publicly, and actually because he wants to do the whole media tour and use the media to try to to run this sort of pressure campaign against the government. I like the fact that they are also tackling him via the media. But then, where the government is missing it is that if you are going to go about and start to expose the engineering faults and the fact that he's giving substandard products out and everything, you should also bring a viable path of how are we going to ensure that we get the refineries working. How are we also going to ensure that we are not being seen as just tackling him specifically? Because now I'm hearing people say things about why should people come and invest in Nigeria. There are so many good reasons why, and I don't think this is necessarily a reason why people should not invest in Nigeria.
Okay.
But the way it is being communicated on Bloomberg, for instance, today Bloomberg put something about he's not going to invest in steel, but people outside Nigeria don't know that a lot of the reasons why these issues with Dangote is going on is because of his his past behaviors.
Aki,
But
it
foreigners will just see
it
and
doesn't
they don't
matter.
see.
Aki, it doesn't matter. These things you are saying don't matter. The 24-year-old in America that runs the Bloomberg terminal wants to invest in an emerging market. He doesn't know Dangote. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know I. When he goes and he reads a news item that the richest man, it's like Warren Buffett saying that he's pulling out of Geico or Coca-Cola and which other company in America. If you, Wale, I can hear that Warren Buffett is selling all his US shares to invest in Japan, would you go and invest in the US? This is where these things have import. What happens to
In
them?
1998,
I can let's move on. I can we have
government tackled Microsoft. What are we saying?
it doesn't
Are you saying that the government
it
should not
doesn't
tackle
matter.
something that
It doesn't the American government
it's monopolist business?
the American government tackled Capital Oil, Rockefeller, and broke into 8 parts. They did not destroy it. They broke into 8 parts. Exxon, Mobil. Now you have all those Conoco now today. Clinton did not destroy Microsoft. They broke down. They told Microsoft you cannot put your Explorer and make it. Okay, let's move on.
Destroying it. They're exposing what is going on. The things that they don't want to see.
A regulator cannot go on air and say the largest single investment in his own country is license. You don't, and that's what we're saying, Akin. So, okay,
but they should have exposed him.
Akin, you can expose him. They've already raided him with taxes, right? His head office was raided. Do you know what to raid an office means? It's already on Bloomberg that Dangote's office was raided by the tax authorities. Have they raided? Let's list the companies in Nigeria that have been raided. Let's list them. How many companies have been raided in Nigeria? But Dangote's head office was raided by the EFCC. Come on, we're not kids, though. We know what's going on.
Let's ask ourselves.
Akin, we have to move on. Akin, we have to move on. Akin, let's move on. Good. Akin, don't hug the mic. We have to move on. Let's get AIG. AIG, you've got the floor. Akin, you are still, but we have to give us a chance. AIG, move on.
Okay.
Hi, AIG. We're talking Dubai. Yes, we are. We're talking Dubai. We're talking Dangote. We've got David on tap with us. Do you have a question for David or comment? Please go ahead.
No, let me just speak to Dangote. On the Dangote issue, making one man feel as if he's a savior, I don't think it's a good way to look at it. Since 1999, from Obasanjo, Yar'Adua to, what's his name, Goodluck, and recently Buhari, Dangote has been given undue advantage in terms of the economy and its businesses and what have you. Okay? I would, from my point of view, I would expect more Dangotes. You can't just have one man who has year in year out been the richest person in Africa. It doesn't stand away from that worldview. Then coming to the refinery, I believe that refinery is not completed. All the commissioning that was done at the time of Buhari was just a clown show. If he has anything with the regulator, I believe they can sit down and iron things out. Okay? The refinery will work at some point. But because of the pressure we have with, meeting expectations and all that, that's why they keep saying, oh, it's going to be July. Tomorrow is going to be in August. Next tomorrow is going to be September. I don't think he needs to. The pressure is kind of too much. They should hold on. Refinery is not just plug and play. It's a very complicated.
AIG, are you aware that before Dangote got his refinery, there were about 38 refineries already issued to build refineries in Nigeria? I lost the guy. AIG, if you're speaking, I can't hear you. But the point I'm trying to make is that Dangote has I would term him as he runs his business with monopolistic tendencies. But I don't think the one part I pity for him is this: Nigerians don't take the risk that he takes. Obasanjo said we are going to stop import of bagged cement. Dangote did not have one single cement factory. He didn't have one. We had WAPCO.
Yeah, but
We
you
had
remember Ibeto, right?
no, hold
You
on.
know that they
I,
had
I,
to destroy
but,
Ibeto for
but, but,
Dangote
but,
to
but,
rise.
but I'm going there. But Ibeto was importing with everybody else that was importing. Ibeto and everybody else were importing. Obasanjo says we are going to stop import of bagged cement. So which means go and build your local cement factory. That's what. Yeah, Obasanjo said it. Dangote had 0 factories. Dangote took loans and built cement factories and bought PCC Boko and became the largest cement manufacturer. There is no other country you will go to on earth where you have an established market player would allow an entrant. Dangote was a brand new entrant to cement. What were the other guys doing when he was building capacity? I'm not defending the guy, but what was WAPCO doing? WAPCO had Ashaka, they had, they were called WAPCO and Lafarge, right? What were they doing that allowed this quote unquote small boy to build a cement capacity and now become the largest cement manufacturer in Nigeria? When Dangote sees an opening, he takes it. We've agreed his practices. We know what he does. But why do they allow him to get in there in the first place? He was going to do steel. He owns largest tomato processing center in Nigeria. So yes, I think he's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know, we can bash him, but who else built a refinery in Nigeria? Before Dangote, there was a 10,000 barrel refinery in Nigeria Delta for diesel. That was it. Now he has built this one. Bua wants to build. Other guys want to build. I think there's one in Imo State now. But why didn't the rest build? That's just.
I understand where you're looking at it from. But mind you, you should know that one of his competitors, I think that was last year, Bua, released a series of press statements telling the world that Dangote had undue advantage in the days of Emefiele. I believe you read that too, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So if a boy who is also a billionaire in dollars like him comes out and start crying, who am I to start defending him? I don't think I'm at that place too.
I see you. I mean, I hear you. I hear your comments well taken.
To defend
So,
him,
yeah,
you understand?
Yeah, but
I feel that he's done well for himself. If I'm given that opportunity, I believe I would do the same. If I'm given the kind of, government support, tax break.
Final comment. Final comment. That let me just say this final comment on this Dangote thing and also again, right? Before Dangote, there was a guy called Arishekola Alao. There was a guy called Ato Eze. There was a guy called Meideribe. There was a guy in Borno, and these are the quote unquote Dangotes before Dangote came. Before Dangote came, we had all these people that in Nigeria that Arishekola was one supplying yams to Ecomog. They made a lot of money. Ato Eze made a lot of money from the government of Nigeria. These were what we call the robber barons, not the American robber, but the real robber barons in Nigeria. None of those guys can you go and point to a factory that they have in Nigeria. And there are many of them. I just quoted about 4 of them now. None. I think what Dangote did that I would give him a sort of like a small allowance, that he actually started to go from this consumption. He was doing imports. Right, of sugar and rice. He started to build factories in Nigeria. And I think he showed that if you invest in Nigeria, you can become the richest man in Africa. Dangote was an importer of rice and sugar. He wasn't the richest guy by a mile. He got rich from cement. When he sold Dangote cement in the stock market to Nigerians, that's when he became bloody rich. Before then, he was doing what other Nigerians do. You make money, like David has said, you build the gate, you tax the gate. They already built. So everybody's saying, if I'm giving right now, there is nothing stopping anybody from doing what he has done. Like I said, there are 38 licenses for refineries. Nobody built it. Nobody built a petrochemical plant before him. The one that Nigeria built, you know what happened to it? Nigeria built a petrochemical plant in Eleme, then we killed it. Then Indians came to Nigeria, bought it. Today, that plant now called Indorama is now one of the largest generators of FX for Nigeria. All the Indians did was come in and invest in it. If Dangote had done this exact same thing, we would have called Dangote a monopolist. Again, it's hard to say these things I'm saying because it looks like we're defending Dangote. David has really listed what Dangote, his issues with Dangote. It's hard to say this looks like we're defending the guy, but we've got to call aces and spades here. The guy looks like he's being targeted because somebody wants something from him and has refused to play ball. I mean, I get all the comments you're making, but it just feels that way. Doctor, I see your hand is up. David, again, if you want to speak, you're a co-host. Please interject anytime. I don't want to look like it's just my space. Doctor Overa, your hand is up. Did you have a comment to make?
Yes, I think I don't want it to be as if everybody's against Aliko Dangote. And he's not asking for the only aspect of his request that I find so offensive is the issue of asking for the stoppage of importation of white petroleum products by other players in the industry. Remember, this is an industry that has an ecosystem of over $50 billion that employs over 1 million people across the value chain, downstream value chain. If you look at Niger Republic, which is our next door neighbor, they have only one refinery that does about 20,000 barrels a day. That refinery output covers 2 times their daily white petroleum consumption. They produce 2 times what they consume. Yet, they did not ban importation of white petroleum products into their country, and they are fully deregulated. Basically, what I think we should be doing, government should support him. And what is the idea of supporting him? If we are doing 2.4 million, 2.5 million barrels of crude oil a day, just like we were doing before Buhari came in with his tanker worms, there's no way we wouldn't have provided him with enough crude to run that refinery. And that's the truth. We should not forget the main issue. The main issue here is that we are not producing enough crude to be able to export to earn the forex, which will act as our working capital to develop the roads and the infrastructure that you're talking about. Even the little that we are producing have been stolen, and some of them have been sold in advance by the Buhari regime. And the current regime are not doing anything to ensure that we ramp up output to 2.4 million barrels a day. And that is a challenge. And on the downstream, I still stand. Nigeria does not consume anything more than 38 million liters of PMS a day. Whatever numbers you are seeing on top of that are Ponzi games. Nigerians should ask questions. Whenever you hear them telling you that importing 60, see, we don't spend more than up to $10 billion on the white petroleum product. The numbers you see them say they spend $24 billion. Most of those numbers, monies are stolen. If a real forensic investigation is conducted into the affairs of the NNPC from 2030, now many people will go to jail. What MFA did in the CBN is a child's play compared to what has been happening in the downstream oil and gas sector in Nigeria and the upstream. Rather than bash Dangote, what we should be asking, and we expect him to be part of this, Dangote should be requesting that we should ramp up output, we should protect our oil and gas assets, and we should stop the criminal Ponzi games in the downstream. If he has spoken up, by now he wouldn't have been in the situation he is today, because he has been part of this system. When they were negotiating 20%, nobody knew how they did it. When they were setting up SPVs, Lakey Funding Group, to do the work, nobody knew what they were doing. When they were using our crude oil, they used our crude oil to borrow $3.3 billion at a very exorbitant rate of 11.8%. And among them, they charged 2% flat fee. At a time, Ghana borrowed $1 billion with cocoa as collateral at 6.5%. Nigerians knew these guys were stealing from us. Nobody raised an eyebrow. Dangote did not raise an eyebrow. So while I pity and sympathize with him, and I want them to give him crude, by ramping up, nobody should ban importation of white petroleum products. Boa is building 200,000 barrels a day. There's another guy that is doing 30,000 barrels a day in the oil houses. Many people are coming up. Anybody that wants to compete should compete fair and square. But we must at least give him crude oil. Sell to him at the market price. He will buy. Thank you.
Gotcha. Guys, let's go in. I mean, David is here, so it's an opportunity for you to ask him those questions as well. Make your question direct to the point. Let's get flow. Let's keep the room flowing, right? Sheriff, you got the floor. Go ahead, Sheriff.
Thank you. So I'll just go straight to the point. So my first question is to you, Carlo and David, about the 640,000 payments that has to be made to the court. Will it be what will be given to the intending passenger? Is it like a note, a paper, a document?
It's not refundable to show that you can apply. The way it's set up is that when you pay that 640K, it's just for you to show that you can actually apply for the visa. It's non-refundable. It's a gate fee to even apply. There is no, that's just so when you pay that one, then you can move forward. Yeah.
So there's no, so I won't have access to apply for a visa if I've not made
That
it.
is a non-refundable application fee. You do that one, then you then show $10,000 in the bank account for 6 months. Then you then pay with the credit card. Then you then pay all the everything. That's just a gate fee to even show that you are worthy to apply for a Dubai visa.
Wow. Anyways, next question. No, next one. I'm just make a comment before I ask my questions.
Oh, yeah, you got one more thing to say, sir. Go ahead, because
Yeah,
take the room.
yeah. So we need to be fair to Dangote because we have several monopolies in Nigeria. I mean, I don't want to mention some of them, but we use most of their products. For example, wheat. You need to find out who supplies wheat in Nigeria. So I just guess Dangote is the easiest target because he's the richest among them. So I won't focus on the bureaucracy around the refinery, but I'll kind of focus on more of the functionality of the refinery. So first of all, I'm saying Dangote made a very big miscalculation because I don't think he had a really good plan of who will supply him crude. I mean, you're talking about the biggest refinery in the world. How do you supply crude?
Exactly. That mystifying. Yeah.
So the next question is, even if you want the Nigerian government to supply you the crude, where will you get dollars to pay for it? Like, we're talking about at least 700 barrels a day. How do you fund it? The next question is, how do you pay for even the crude that's going to come from abroad? You need at least a ship a day to be able to sustain the refinery. So I don't know what he has planned out for that. So, but I mean, I thought about the solution I was listening to you. I think what he needs now in the immediate challenge is to try to get an oil well license, get a contract.
He has to.
Then he needs to get a contractor for people that will now start mining the oil for him because right now he is in a quagmire. He cannot move forward.
Okay.
So my last comment is I think Dangote should see himself as a politician and an entrepreneur and just suck it up and get his investment upstream and stop all this talking on there.
Interesting. David, let me ask you a question. Why do you think they're going to put that refinery in Lagos? There is no crude oil in Lagos that can supply to refinery. I know Lagos State discovered crude oil, but the crude oil in Lagos State can't supply the refinery. Did he, and I know he's talked about he wanted to go to Ogun State, they sort of delayed, so he moved to Lagos State. Do you have any insight why he decided the refinery out of the crude oil producing areas in Nigeria?
I think it's very simple. I think from day one, he had an eye on the export market. So he wanted to be close to the coast. And to be honest, even if he had sighted in Ogun, it would still have found its way to Lagos in terms of maybe transporting the finished refined items because he always had an eye on getting his stuff to the export market. So he wanted, and it's only Lagos that has a sufficiently developed and safe coastal infrastructure in Nigeria.
Because he had to build his own port. He had to build a port in that Lekki. He separate from Tinkan, whatever. He had to build his own export port. It's an EPZ zone. I just wonder why he put it so. Like Edo, for instance, along the entire coast, there are many. No, it doesn't need a town. If he was looking for import for export,
I think there are political considerations there as well. And I think knowing what I know of him, because I've had the opportunity to say to in the same room with him a number of times, what he will always say is that he doesn't invest in any place or anything that he's not familiar with. So I think for people like him, I think the Niger Delta is just a very scary place, to be honest. So it's a place you go to on exploratory expeditions, like a colonialist, to extract. But it's not a place you go to go and sign your business.
Okay.
For people like him. So I think Lagos is just a lot more familiar and comfortable.
And if I've got an expert, but if anyone is an expert, I can explain to me how he was going to get crude to this refinery. It's a massive refinery. I know the one in India is on the coast. You bring your refined goods via ship, they refine, you go. Was it what he planned for this same one? If anybody had that answer, DM me, let me share. Because I did commerce in school, I got A1. And they said the nearest to industry is the number one thing next to raw materials is one thing that you use to cite industry. So just if you have an insight, just DM me, then I can bring you up. And let me get CEO Austin. CEO, let's go to the podium, if you don't mind, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and good evening, Carlo. Thank you very much for this. David, thank you very much for that, for your submission on the Dubai visa issue.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly speak on that. Now, not to bore each and every one of us here. David has already done a very fantastic job, but I'm not holding brief for the company. What gave rise to that what's it called, web page is that, a lot of Nigerian business owners in Dubai and professionals were actually bothered, when the issues of the persistent ban and all that were happening, deportations, cultism, and so many other things. So at different forums, suggestions were made to the consulate and the embassy, as of the time, to say, okay, we have so many genuine Nigerians living in UAE, so this is rubbing off on everybody. So suggestions were made, and some powerful, connected persons among, professionals and business owners took this up and started working on it. So, but because this guy was very powerful, he actually, got the ears of the government as of the time to set up this platform. And at the end of the day, what they tried to do was to copy what VFS was doing. Even when technically, they said there's a ban, UAE never banned. Like when you go there, they say, oh, fine, you can go and apply. So they never come out to say there's been an actual ban, because they were given to families and they were given to individuals. So what VFS have with Emirates is, these are the details. The $10,000 requirement, deposit for what's it called, for absconding, which is about $2,272, and also they had the application fee and all of that. So this was what VFS was doing in partnership with Emirates. So, but because there was no direct flights from Nigeria as of the time, now they've said it's October 1st. So you could fly from Ghana. You could fly from Ghana if you meet these conditions. So what this guy did was that, okay, fine. VFS is already doing this with Emirates. Let us do it also from our own platform, as a way of telling the government of UAE to say, we've been able to verify Nigerians, genuine Nigerians who are coming in to Dubai for business travels and, events. Okay, but what they did wrong was to put the fee, one-off fee, at 640,000 naira. So when you pay that, you will still have to go back to your travel agent after verification to do the visa application, and also now pay, of course, the service charge. What VFS and Emirates is charging is actually $272, which is refundable, about $100 and something, which is their own service fee or so. Then also you about $30, $40, $50 would be. So in total, VFS is charging you about $500 and something with a refundable fee of $272. But these other guys are not. They are charging Nigerians more money than what VFS is charging. If you go to VFS website as we speak, these informations, they are all there. So our appeal definitely to government is, this is actually a diplomatic solution for them to get this resolved. And also safe to say that as of Friday, Nigerian visas with there was an application for for age 45 years which was applied, and there was no document verification. The visa came out as fast as within 1 hour. So this is my brief contribution. But however, one of the reasons also why the UAE had to deny all the allegations is that they are not, they are not part of that arrangement. It's a private government kind of arrangement between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, between Ministry of Aviation, and also, of course, I think this also came to light when I think the NSA Ribadu, when he went to meet with the UAE ambassador. That was when they actually pushed this.
So Austin,
Austin, yes,
that's great info. Great, answer a lot of questions. But the point again is that Dubai is basically saying only rich Nigerians can go there.
No. They are not saying only rich Nigerians. Now, if you look at the partnership Emirates has with what's it called? VFS, is just to say we want people we can verify based on the standard bank balance procedures they have with other countries.
$10,000. $10,000 in an account for 6 months.
Yeah, well, relatively, because
No,
I know
which other, there's no country that asks for $10,000 for 6 months sitting in an account for 6 months. Americans don't have $500. The average American does not have $500 in an account. Fact check me. The average American.
You are very correct. Now let me give you an instance. Just yesterday, my wife was going to apply for a Turkish visa, and now guess what the Turkish guy told him? Please just beef up your account to 10 million naira, and you will be able to get the visa.
No, I know. We know this. We know this. And everyone does that. But 10,000 in an account for 6 months.
That's the reality.
Which other country does that? I know which other country on earth does that. I get you, sir, and I appreciate it. I'm not trying to attack. I'm just saying, which other country does that for any of citizens apart from Nigeria? Is there any other country on earth that is asked to put $10,000 in 6 months on an account and to only use the credit card? I think it's a way to say we only want rich people to come to Dubai. I don't think I get out of that answer. That's just it. They only want rich people to come to Dubai.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Dubai being what they are, they spent a lot, to launder their image globally, to promote the Dubai brand and all of that. Again, the things that preceded this technical visa ban, they were not things that were very okay. Everybody knows and all of that. However, they were just like a stopgap way to ensure that, people that were comfortable with. And that's why I said what would have been the great solution would have been a full diplomatic solution. Because I remember vividly well, countless number of times, Nigerian government officials were called for meetings. These meetings, they never attended. The Minister of Aviation as of the time was his name, Hadi Sariki. So many of them, they were so great hand of fellowship. Even aside the issue of funds that they had and all that, there were also the security issues, prostitution, gang wars, and different things in UAE. But they never came to the table. Nigeria is not the only country that has ever had visa-related issues with Dubai. So many countries, Kenya, Ethiopia, India.
Yeah, but
many countries.
and this is the point, Austin. Austin, this is the point again. Like, so can I just move on? I mean, again, I appreciate what you're saying, but I know Kenyans also have issues with the Dubai guys. Indians, Pakistani, even Russians have a lot of issues with the guys in Dubai. Nigeria's not the only crime quote unquote country that goes to Dubai. But for the government to agree that the citizens would pay $10,000 for 6 months, pay only with a credit card, and then non-refundable fee of 640. That's too easy. It looks like the government is basically agreeing too easily and is making money on the side to then throw its citizens under the bus. Under the bus. I think it's
guys are making money.
That's the point that they. So I just yeah. Let me just read this. Someone sent me a DM, and I need they wants to send me a DM. Dangote has 2 oil fields: OML 71 and 72. OML 72 has existing wells, but this is tanker stuff. But Dangote has got 2 oil wells, and then this is what the person said: the Dangote should go and develop his fields and pay people well to do it. He says his pay is ridiculously low, so it's hard to attract quality people or people who will be interested in working there. So that's short to Dangote. That Dangote has 2 oil wells. He hasn't developed it, but he wants people that have developed their wells to sell him crude oil for the refinery. The person says, "I know because I work there." I don't reveal too much, but that's a DM from someone. So interesting. Austin, I appreciate those comments. Those are very, very well taken, sir. Thank you so much. Meet Austin, you've got the floor. David, any comments? Hop in again, David, if you want to hop in. But yeah. Meet Austin, you've got the floor. Is it meet OISIN or Oshin Oshin Sanjo? You've got the floor, sir. Please go ahead. Oshin's not ready. Let's get Femi Shaba. Femi Shaba. Go ahead. Femi is not ready. Awon Kenneth. Hey guys, if you request to speak, please be near the mic. Awon Kenneth, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, great. I guess I've been like shouting back here that I want to speak, and now that I have the opportunity, I'm like, okay, we need to speak with caution. I feel like there's so many overwhelming things at play when it comes to Dangote map, but that it's I don't know how to put it. It's like it's just overwhelming, and to make an attempt to talk about it will make you sound like a rambling man, and you might end up saying something that doesn't have sense. I guess what I'm trying to say is like when you think about this moment, you remember the book "Fighting Corruption is Dangerous" by Kunjo Iweala, and the scenarios and pictures she painted in it. And when coming to Dangote, with the many things that we can talk about, I feel like what we bring it down to like one simple thing is this refinery is so big, it's almost seeming like a national asset, right? So the idea now is with all his past and whatever that has gone into play, are we ready to see this refinery go? You know, like, okay, yeah, he has been collecting favors or allegedly, right? But then again, the forex right now is not good. Here's one asset that could help Nigeria. Are we willing to like see it go, or are we going to let greed come into the picture and just make a whole mess out of it? Take for example, if we were all against the guy that had the landmark thing, right? And now it was sort of destroyed and it's not being given a subsidy and whatever. Is that something we want for Dangote refinery? That would be my question.
I'm not sure I got the question. Can you actually just what's the question?
I would just say is it possible to let negative sentiments go for the betterment of
No. Like I said earlier, if Dangote was a bank, he will be termed too big to fail. Doesn't mean that we like the bank, but that the bank failure would cause a systematic crash to the system. That's how I would put it this way. You know, we don't like Dangote, but the refinery is now too big to fail. If NNPC manages that refinery to become like their own refinery, so we can't allow NNPC in that refinery. But we need Dangote to work. But it has to be, I think, a lot of equity and equality now going forward in that refinery. If somebody is saying that Dangote has got oil fields, why is he not developing his oil fields to supply his refinery? It's not going to be enough from the text the person sent. It's only about 20 to 50, but still he has it. So he should go and develop his own, then, you know, buy more or develop others, invest in other fields, and ask him to supply crude oil. He needs it more than we need it. That's just the way I'll take it. Yeah.
I'm gonna add to that. Sorry, go ahead.
Like one thing I'm going to add to that is like, for example, the Dangote Group is a public company, right? Why can't we not also like going forward make the refinery a public company? Because
he was going to sell the shares to the public. That wasn't the plan. I think it was early next year. He was supposed to go private. Yeah, so go public. I mean, yeah. David, you go ahead. David.
Yeah, so I was just going to comment that something that seems to have been missed as well is that even the initial idea to construct the world's biggest refinery, I think, was not one that was well thought out. I think if you had constructed a refinery that was maybe 250,000 barrels per day, I think it would have been up and running maybe 6 years ago. And maybe he would be talking about constructing a second one and a third one. And he would have been able to become the biggest that he wants to be. But if a refinery of this size, I think what many of us, including myself, up until maybe a couple of years ago, didn't realize about refineries is that refineries are like steel mills. You have to keep them running for an extended period of time. So it's not like a generator that you can put fuel in it now and then put it off after a while and put it back on. So the supply chain has to be sorted out long before you actually put any steel in the ground. Right? And it seems very much like that was not sorted out. Because if you have a situation where you are buying cargoes from everywhere, buying cargoes from Brazil, from the US, bear in mind that this is the refinery that would no doubt have been configured to deal primarily with light sweet crude, which is Nigeria's grade of crude. They're now bringing heavy tars from South America and the US. Already that's a problem. And then the supply is very stop-start. So there's no guarantee. If you get the cargo from Brazil this month, there's no guarantee you get it next month. What that means is that the refinery itself from day one it's going to fail. Yeah. Because your supply chain needs to be, it needs to be settled before you even go into operation in the first place. So I feel as if you have a couple of oil fields that you said together, they're yielding like 20,000, 30,000 barrels per day. And you couldn't actually guarantee that you are going to find feedstock worth 650,000 barrels per day. You couldn't guarantee it. Then why the hell did you build such a thing?
David, this question has been in my mind, but because I'm not as rich as Dangote, I didn't want to ask it, but people will say, oh, are you better? Do you know more than Dangote? He's always wanted to be where he was going to, why put the refinery, number one, outside the oil zone, and then number two, 650,000 barrels without, first of all, securing the oil feedstock. The Nigerian Natural Gas, before they build a new train, they actually go out and sell, they actually sell the customers first, then they sort of go back, and then they get that, what's it called? They get the customers first before they develop the backward integration of the oil feedstock. So it's a bit, but David, let me give you something someone sent to me via DM. David, let me share this with you. Someone sent to me, NNPC may partner with Owando to buy Dangote refinery, which Owando having the most shares. So make of that. I didn't say that, David. I just said that NNPC may partner with Owando to. So someone sent it to me via DM. Of course, I'm reviews, but it's very interesting that I know that a regulator will not wake up and say something is unlicensed and operating without drums being beat from outside the circle of it. So it's just interesting that this is coming up. We'll see where it ends. In Nigeria, there's always smoke and fire. It's just, well, we have to know which smoke is beating because there's always smoke and fire.
However, something I should also mention is that if that were to be the case, and it's essentially somebody in power trying to use presidential power to wrest control of a private asset from a private citizen, then it becomes a political issue. And potentially it becomes a Southwest versus North political issue. That's not a fight Tinubu can win. I know he's built a whole career out of being, hubristic as he is, but surely he's not that stupid. But anyway, let's wait and see.
Very, very interesting. Let's get
Can I just say one more thing?
No, I think you've spoken 3 times. We're gonna rotate the room. Yeah, but real quick, just a sentence.
I was going to say that as someone that owns Owando shares and knew that it was dead for a long time, and all of a sudden it started blooming, that's very funny. And the other thing was like, we're also forgetting that Dangote, whatever he's building with the refinery, is sort of like a three-in-one complex thingy. So there's the fertilizer part of it and the other one that I've forgotten. And again, like, I feel like this whole refinery thing, even a child at 4, like was born in Nigeria, would see the problems that he is in right now. So I think this is not anything new. He probably would have foreseen this, and he's sort of like playing a game. I'm hoping so, especially with the way the refinery is still being delayed. I mean, this delay has been happening for years. So a conspiracy theory of mine is that has this refinery been, especially refinery somewhere for him to make back his money before he will fully commission it. And that's that. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Femi Shaba, go ahead. Hey guys, I'm dropping just to create space, yeah. So don't think I'm dropping just to create space. Femi, you've got the floor.
Hi everyone. How you doing? I hope everyone's having a lovely Sunday.
We're trying.
Just a quick one. If anybody would have been one of Dangote's arch nemesis, it would be me. I've always looked at him as a product of government, government baby, and he's always had his way and always gotten what he wants. But if we're going to be honest about it, he's not the first or the only one who has had this opportunity. For every Dangote you have probably another 1,000, 2,000 other people who had the same opportunity and did nothing with it. I think we are at a stage now with him. I think it was you mentioned earlier on. He's too big to fail. I think right now the government probably has a target on its back. We don't know what the end goal is. If it is complete, to complete takeover, from him, or if it is just a misunderstanding for now. But definitely things are not the way they used to be. I mean, I read a meme. I saw a meme somewhere that they said, "They don't reach me Dangote now. Starts protest before the youth." Dangote has started his own bad governance protest before the youth.
Exactly. It's
Well, really and truly, he is too big to fail. I have always been of the notion, even like David said, he's a crony capitalist. He's all of that. But at the same time, sometimes when they say you fake it till you make it, he has been faking it to the point where he's too big now for us to be backtracking. I don't think we need to burn down.
Can I chip in here?
No, sir, you have to wait for him to finish and you'll be called. Please go ahead, Femi.
Apologies.
Femi, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, he has faked it to the point where he's actually now really too big to fail. And this is where really and truly the government needs to step in and play their role as regulator, and stop, this hobnobbing and whatnot with businesses. I mean, you can control monopoly. If you accuse them of monopoly, you can put in things that would curb it.
Yeah.
He has taken advantage of the system all these years. He's gotten away with it, and it has gotten him to where he is. And they say, "Show me your friends, and I'll tell you who you are." And to be honest with you, Dangote is aspiring with all the friends he's holding. With all the friends that he's keeping. I can see people like Tony Lumelu now starting to play the game, but still, the friends that those ones are keeping, I'm not too sure. Having colonizer interest with fans and stuff like that can be a bit worrying. With Tony Lumelu's side of things, But at the end of the day, these are businessmen. They want to make money. They want to have a legacy. Yeah.
Interesting.
And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That'd be one of his greatest nemesis, in the midst to play his role. Whether the government is equipped to do it or whether they actually are going to do it is a different story entirely. And that's where this, the citizen role comes to play. The citizens need to step up. And I think it's fantastic the way things are growing. It's just like the Dubai levy, the 600K levy. In the past, everyone would have just been like, okay, how much is it? 600 would have been like $400 of those days. $400 would have been like what? Maybe 80,000 naira. Everybody like, it's not a big deal. We'll pay 80,000 naira for verification. But right now, everyone is feeling it. Everyone is feeling it.
Honestly, that's 640k. Do you know? Honestly, that's 640k. I don't think it's to me. That's not the real cost. Do you know what it means to take $10,000 and keep it in an account for 6 months? $10,000 and you just put it in an account for 6 months. Not naira, not the commission naira. 6 months. How about
6 months? You do a lot of things with data. What did the last data tell us? That less than 0.1% of the population have 500,000 naira in their accounts. So who are those that are going to be holding $10,000 for 6 months? It tells you it has basically wiped out 99.9%.
99.999. They're just it's gonna be government people, legislators, business people, and their girlfriends and boyfriends. Those are the guys that are gonna go to Dubai going forward. That's it. Everybody else should go to Senegal or something like that.
They cannot everybody else can F off.
Yeah.
So even that one, like I said, in the past we would have overlooked it and like, oh yeah, 80k just paid.
Yeah.
Just go to Dubai and take nice pictures. Yeah. But we're all feeling it.
It's done. It's done. It's cheaper. It's cheaper to take your money and get a second passport and go to Dubai than to go through Nigerian passport and go to Dubai. It's cheaper to just invest in a second passport and go to Dubai than doing this nonsense they're doing. All right, Femi, thanks for the comment. Let me get Olumo of Derby in here. Let's hear from the UK wing of Nigeria. Olumo, how are you doing, sir? Olumo of Derby.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Good, everybody. Happy Sunday, everybody. Rain, learned a lot. So, just a question to you guys. From a diaspora point of view, do you really think the actions of our government? So for example, let's say I was in a Nigerian foreigner, I would be scared to invest in Nigeria.
Of course.
Kind of the world we live in.
Of course, you'll be scared. Of course, you'll be scared.
So do you really think this is not a big setback for economy? Because I just feel like the government and Dangote should sit on the board and listen. Let's meet at I'm meeting points where Dangote might not be happy, the government might not be happy, but it's not about both of them. It's about also attracting foreign investors, because for the economy to get better, we need foreign investors to come and invest in Nigeria. How much can the government put to board? How many things can even Dangote himself put to board? So we need foreign investors to come and invest in our country. But when you look at the back and forth between governments and Dangote, I'm afraid. It makes me sad, and I'm just thinking. I'm even looking at a bigger point of view as a if I was a foreign investor. I took the thinking, Nigeria is a country can take serious. I'd rather go and invest my money in a country like South Africa, or even maybe the likes of Rwanda, and even the likes of Namibia this time. And when you look at economy today, with the fourth in Africa, so even the likes of Egypt or Jordan, they've gone ahead. So I don't understand the back and forth. So for me, I just think the government should just sit down with Dangote. Fairness. Not just for opportunity, with create jobs and opportunities, but for me, what is the way forward? From your point of view, Carlo, I can say, listen, what can we do, to make sure this doesn't go anywhere? Then, of course, for me, just like let's avoid pushing foreign investors away from our country. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's the point that you are hitting on, and that's why we're having this on the financial space, because it doesn't matter if it's Dangote. This is the point I was making. It doesn't matter. These guys that are investing money abroad don't know who Dangote, don't know who Carlo is. What they know is that Nigeria's risk profile has gone up. If you're a risk manager and you see what's going on in Nigeria with the government, with Dangote, with all this, you're going to move the risk premium up. Because if a connected person like Dangote is having problems, then what about you? So these things have an impact. That's why Nigeria is borrowing more than Rwanda. Borrowing more. We pay a higher cost of debt than Rwanda, which is small and has no crude oil. Our risk premium is higher than Togo, Benin, all those other countries, because they have less drama. Nigeria has a lot of drama. A few days ago, the Total guy, remember what the Total MD said when they moved that stuff to Angola? He said Nigerians talk a lot. Blah, 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 blah. We do debates up and down. Nothing really gets done. So they move to a place where at least they are sure. Nigeria has rich potentials, but we mismanage it by this talk, bureaucracy, you raid Dangote, you are, and EFCC will arrest you for spraying dollars. We've locked up a guy from Binance in a wheelchair, and we think that's not bad PR. The US guys are just on in politics, so once politics is over, they will face us. You just can't invite on Nigeria, lock him up, and say, yeah, he's charged with whatever, $26 billion or something like that. So it tells bad on the country. It affects our bond yields, our bond ratings, and that's why your naira is so low. Rule of law has a direct impact to investment flows. You've got to understand that. You just can't run things as if you're no longer part of the global economy. You can't have an NSA arresting visitors to Nigeria because he's the NSA. Those things don't. That's not how the world works, man. All right, let's get Imperial Mango. How you doing, sir? Please hop in there.
Thank you. I know my handle's a bit strange. So I just sort of want to give a bit of context, right, to Dangote, because I've been associated with the company for over 20 years, right? And I remember the same kind of sentiments about 22 years ago when Dangote went into the Obajana cement plant in Kogi State, right? Um, People thought it was an extremely foolish and ridiculous decision for him to do so, because he went to the middle of Nigeria where they had significant limestone reserves and said, hey, we're going to build a cement plant here, right? And everybody was mocking him. They said, hey, you want to build a cement plant? How are you going to get the heavy equipment there? How are you going to clear the land? How are you going to get the licenses through the, various regulatory agencies, blah, 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 etc. Right? Because in Kogi State, where Obajana plant is located, is kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? And it took them about 4 years. And they borrowed about $480 million, primarily from the IMF, because nobody else would fund them at the time. And it was extremely risky. Extremely risky. Nobody really wanted to borrow this Nigerian company in 2002 that nobody had heard about, and everybody was just like, these guys are really not serious, right? Well, fast forward to 2007, it took about 4 or 5 years. They were about 2 years late. Oh, yeah. They had a 3-year time period of about 5 years. They started production, and the debt they took from the IMF was about $580 million. They paid it back in 18 months by 2009, right? And that was really what kick-started Dangote's sort of rise in the cement space, which really skyrocketed him into the sort of national consciousness and sort of maybe African consciousness, right? Because before that, he was primarily a sugar trader. He was a rice trader. He was, basically into trading. They had gone into manufacturing a little bit. So I want to sort of parallel this a little bit to what's going on in the refinery, right? So in the refinery, like in 2013, right, they signed off memorandums of understanding with a bunch of banks for saying that, yes, they're going to go do a refinery. Now, the honest truth is, the construction of that refinery did not start really until 2018. Because guess what? For the first 3 years, they thought they were going to do it in Ogun State. And the Ogun State government was giving them a lot of funny signals about partnerships and strange signals which they did not like, right? So in 2016, they came to Lagos State. They bought this land for $100 million again, which is in the public domain, which was mentioned yesterday, and it was extremely swampy land, right? It took 2 years to clear, and it took another 2 years to dredge with some of the biggest dredge dredge it to about 3 meters above sea level so that you don't encounter flooding. So the actual construction started in 2018. You had about 250,000 piles that were laid. And in about 2021, 2022, you had COVID hit. There were some issues. There were a lot of subcontractors. There were a lot of Chinese subcontractors. There were a lot of Indian subcontractors who obviously at various points in time voiced different discontents, if I could put it that way. They're not happy with different things, etc., etc. The construction essentially began in 2018, right? And by 2022, construction was sort of complete, right? And in 2023, they were ready to start putting the oil in, right? So the end of 2023, oil went in. Oil goes in, and they start distilling the lowest sort of distillates. So I'm sure most of you are aware of how crude distillation works, right? Like you start with the lowest distillates, which is lubricants, low sulfur pure oil, bunker fuel, which is used to fuel ships, right? And these immediately were exported to Singapore and many other places and so on. And eventually they got to diesel. Now here's the thing. When they got to diesel, right, their desulfurication plant was not fully ready, right? So they were producing diesel at about 600 to 1,000 ppm of sulfur, right? But with the knowledge that their desulfurication plant was going to come on board in about 1 or 2 months' time. Now, what we saw yesterday, day before yesterday, was that the desulfurication plant is kind of online. Dangote's diesel is about 87.5 parts per million of sulfur. The samples they took from random, filling stations like Total and Maxim gave ppms of about 1,800. Another one gave 2,200, right? So you want to compare 1,800, 2,200 to 87. Now Euro 5, I think, is below 50, right? And as the sulfurication plant is not fully online, and the premise is that it's going to be minus 10 ppm, right? And again, you know how these things go. These things go from the heavy distillates, like bunker oil, low pour fuel oil, ship oil, etc., to AGO, to diesel. The most highest one is PMS, petrol, which is supposed to be rolled out. I don't know. They say next month. It could be September. It could be maybe early October. I don't want to speculate on when it's gonna come out, right? But it is gonna come out. And so what I found very disingenuous about the statement from Mr. Farouk Lawan, who said, the refinery is 45% complete, blah 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 blah. I mean, this is a company that's been exporting products from this refinery from February to all over the world, to Singapore, to Rotterdam, to Brazil, to the United States, to different places. So I think it's a very strange sort of play between the various agencies.
So let me hop in here. So you're saying
please go ahead.
You're saying number one is the factory is complete. Number two, the quality is better than what we have in Nigeria right now.
I don't want to say the factory is complete and the quality is better.
But you just said it.
The factory will be complete when we roll out premium motor spirits in the next month and polypropylene in the next few months.
Okay, so the question again for you: why did you guys build this stuff way out in Lagos. What was the plan to get crude oil?
Yeah, the magic is SPMs, single point mooring buoys, right? So SPMs are these magical things which are basically pipelines that go out into the sea about 25 kilometers away, right? So that you can get Panamax ships, you can get all these ships that don't necessarily need to dock at your port. They can just stay 25 kilometers out from sea. They engage with your SPM. And, there's a pipeline that goes in, pipeline that goes out, and they can discharge their crude. And not only that, there's a separate SPM for offloading your product to different ships without you necessarily having to dock at any particular
Port in Nigeria.
refinery or
Okay, what oil from where? Oil from Nigeria. So was the refinery built?
So here's the thing, right? The assumption was always going to be, hey, we're going to get a majority of our oil from Nigeria. That was the assumption. And the assumption was always going to be, we're going to get a majority of our oil from NNPC, and we're going to sell, most of it to Nigeria. For whatever reason, the NNPC has not been able to deliver. I cannot comment on why the NNPC has not been able to deliver. I'm sure they have
Deliver crude oil.
Sovereign reasons for that.
Deliver crude oil.
Yes.
Okay. So what does
that was the deal, right? Like they had this 20% deal where X amount was cash and X amount was sort of crude swap. Right? There was amount of crude oil that they were supposed to deliver within a certain period of time when the refinery went live. Now, again, don't quote me on this, but from what I've heard, it's they were supposed to deliver 15 shipments, and they delivered about 4.
Okay. What about this 20%, 7% thingy? How much does NNPC own in Dangote refinery today?
No, the 7% is what they paid for.
But did they sign up for? Because I know that in Nigeria you pay in full. In America they you pay an allotment. So was it a full allotment and they were allotted 20%, but they've only paid 7%? Or is it that?
It was a mix. It was a mix between cash and crude.
Yeah, but did you allot them 20% and they've only paid 7% of it, or did you allot them based on what they paid for? What was the agreement that they have 20% and they haven't paid? So they own the equity, but they haven't paid, or they only own 7%, which is what they've paid for. Which is it?
Here's the thing. There was a contract where they were supposed to fulfill a certain amount within a certain time period, right? To get that 20%.
Oh, I see.
Right. So they got the 7.2% within the time. So that's fine. That's not a problem. Right. But the remaining
the 13% came out at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was supposed to be delivered not via cash, but it was supposed to be delivered via crude. And that was not honored. It was not honored. It was almost like we're begging them, we're going after them. There was grace periods. There was like, guys, are you going to do this? Like, what's going on?
So where does the NNPC? So where does NNPC's crude oil go to? Normally, they export it and make money.
I'm really not an expert in that. I'm not an expert in that.
Okay, last question for you.
I've lived in Nigeria. I lived in Nigeria for 30 years. Okay, if you want me to speculate, I can speculate.
Okay, no, that's fine.
There's a place to speculate.
No, that's fine. Yeah. What Dangote he's saying he wants to sell his refinery to NNPC. Is that bluster, or does he really want to exit this sector?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Dangote just said today that he would like to sell the refinery to NPC. Is that a serious statement, or he's just saying it tongue in cheek?
I think that's tongue in cheek. I saw an article where he said that. I think he was misquoted.
Misquoted. Okay, but they quoted him saying
That's just my opinion.
Just your opinion. All
You know,
right.
I'm not speaking. I'm speaking in my own capacity here. You know,
I hear you. David, did David have any questions?
Any official capacity.
Oh, we know. We got you. I got you complete. And we talked on David before you came up. No, I hear you. I mean, you're on a space. David, do you have any questions any questions?
I mean, I don't know if it's a question he can answer because it's more of a strategy question than an engineering question. But again, I'm struggling to understand why the decision was made initially to make the refinery 650,000 barrels per day in the first place. It just seemed like it was just
like a stretch,
way too much. It's just way too ambitious.
That's actually a very interesting question, you know, because initially during the design stage of the refinery, right, the design was supposed to be 450,000 barrels, not 650,000, right? So
come again. Say it again, please. Come again.
Oh God, you guys are gonna get me fired.
Your name isn't showing. Do you prefer we go back to DMs? No, do you prefer we go back to DMs? My DMs are blowing up. Somebody is asking you. I want to answer this question. Someone is asking you, given the current circumstances, is a single point mooring for the refinery justified? But if you can,
no. Single point mooring is absolutely
justified.
Amazing, man.
Okay.
Single point mooring is one of the most amazing technologies we have today. God. You know why? You have Panamax, you have Suezmax ships that can come within 30 kilometers of the Nigerian coast, right? And we have our buoys there, right? And you have your pipes there, and you can either discharge crude or you can onboard finished products, right? Because you don't want Supermax, Panamax, or Suezmax vessels coming into your port. It's going to cost too much draft. It's going to be too much headache,
gotcha.
Right? So they just stay, 25 kilometers away from the coast, and they just like latch onto these SPMs, and these pipelines extend like in the bottom of the sea, and they just like load up, and they're good.
So let me understand this, right? So let me understand this. The Panamax will go to the Niger Delta and pick up crude oil, then sail to Lagos and offload crude oil.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not just for Panamax and Suezmax. This applies similarly to, say, for example, a vessel that is coming from Lagos and wants to offtake diesel and distribute it to Port Harcourt or Warri or Akwa Ibom. You know what I mean? They don't have to dock. They don't have to dock at the port. They just go to the SPM, they load, and they're on their way.
Okay.
It's a much more efficient way of off-taking and discharging products than to dock and then fix a pipeline or whatever.
Okay, but just to answer David's question, could you give me just a range? Because more of a strategic question, like he said. What was the range that Dangote was? Was it 100 or 200 or 300 or 400? What was the max, the initial?
You mean for the SPMs?
No, for the Dangote refinery. They was looking at what was the initial capacity? Let's just say 100.
No, I was actually asking that why was the decision made to make it 650?
Yeah. He didn't want to really go there, but there's
it was more about it started at 450, right? It started at 450 because 450 was a good figure, and the decision was made to say, okay, let's look at, because when they did the initial design of the refinery, right? And they found out that there was scope to go about 300 to 350 more. or what they meant was they could go to 700 and 750, right? Based on the design, based on the area, based on the amount of crew that could come in, and also based on the equipment that was available, right? So it's like driving a car. It's like, let's say you have a BMW, right? And you are saying you want to drive it at 80 kilometers per hour. All of a sudden, you're like, well, I could probably drive this thing at 120, you know.
But that 120, gives like it was a bank, and you taking more equity.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you could drive it at 160. So they said, okay, on Nigerian roads, we are not going to drive it at 160 because that is stupid. But we could probably drive it at 120 and make it happen.
Interesting.
In a layman's terms, that's the best way I could put it.
Okay, someone is asking. No, yeah.
Again, I could be wrong. I'm just a guy.
You're just a guy. You're just a guy. I hear you. Someone is asking, why didn't you build this in the Niger Delta? Why was it Ogun State first? Why not the Niger Delta right next to it? Is it because of the buoys?
I think the Ogun State thing was very clear. I don't know.
Well, Niger Delta. He says Niger Delta. Niger Delta. Why not Niger Delta?
As to why they didn't build it in the Niger Delta, I really don't know. Okay, but I know that they wanted to build it close to where they could have some striking distance from Lagos.
Gotcha. Why Lagos? Why?
Why not?
No, you're just a guy. I'm asking a question. Like, I want to know.
For this, I don't have an answer to this.
Gotcha. Okay, David,
but here's the thing. There's a refinery in Warri.
It's a teeny weeny one. That's a teeny weeny refinery. Teeny weeny. 10,000.
No, it's 200,000 barrels a day.
Which one? NNPC. NNPC. Oh, okay. But you and I know it's NNPC. No, but you know it's NNPC.
Here's the thing. Here's the context. Okay, in 2007, right? Dangote wanted to buy, a couple of these refineries and refurbish them. This was along the lines of when Dangote bought Benue Cement. You remember Benue Cement?
True.
Boko.
Yes.
Boko. BCC Boko, right? And they had a really tough time buying BCC Boko because the government said you have no technical know-how to run it.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
You guys are just hicks from. You're just rednecks from God knows where.
From Kano rednecks.
You have no idea what you're doing. But it was fine. We went to what we did. We went and built up a Ghana plant, and that built some confidence, and then they took over Boko. But I think the whole I think everybody knows about this stuff, right? Like Dangote wanted to take over the failed refineries, and President Mano Musa Yar'Adua decided in his wisdom that that's not a good thing for the country, and he cancelled it. Right?
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, this is public knowledge.
No, I hear you. We're just listening. So, David, do you have any questions for him? For the speaker to come in.
Well, again, this is more of a strategy question. It's not an engineering question.
Go for it. I don't mind. I'll just give you caveats. That's all.
So I'm wondering, like, I know that after Yar'Adua died, President Jonathan was maybe a bit more amenable, to like, I think it's fair to say that all economics that Yar'Adua and Dangote didn't necessarily see eye to eye. So that might have had something to do with Yar'Adua's decision. But President Jonathan was definitely a lot more amenable. I mean, he used to carry Jonathan when Dangote was listed as wealthiest man in Africa. Jonathan used to list it among his accomplishments. Like, he was very enamored with Dangote, and I would have thought Right? Instead of sinking money into the primary refinery, you could have leveraged that relationship to sort of revive that sale.
Look,
That was reversed a year ago.
You know what they figured out? Yeah, I think they figured this out after taking Benue Cement. Because, you know, when they built Obajana Cement, right? Like, they built Obajana Cement with the best of the equipment from Germany and Switzerland and, you know, the Netherlands and whatnot, right? Like, the efficiency, the sort of cost of producing 1 kilogram or 1 ton of cement was way cheaper than anything they could do with Benue Cement Company, right? Which was a takeover and had legacy equipment, which was like 30 years old and so on. So I think they made a parallel to that and said, hey, if we take over these refineries and we spend X billions of dollars to refurbish these refineries that were essentially built in the 70s and 80s. Would we really, will we really get the gains that we should? Then, if we built a refinery with technology from the 2010s. Because the fact is that the technology for all these oil refineries were from the 70s, the 80s, and it was the 70s and 80s. I mean, Kaduna was what?
70s, yeah. 70s.
Kaduna was 89.
That's the last one, yeah.
Yeah. So it was all the technology. And see, Dangote, the only reason Dangote dominated cement was because they brought in like technology that was newer and more efficient, that was able to, give Lafarge a run for their money, right? So when they looked at it, and they were like, do we really want to refurbish this plant that's like, from 2000 and late or 1999 and late? Plus, the government blocked them anyways.
Gotcha. I mean, great. Lots of points want to talk, but let me just get some. Hang in, let me just clear a few food that we had just had to put on pause because we were talking to you. KJJ, you want to. We've got about 30 minutes to go, guys. I apologize, but it's been packed. Lots of breaking news as well. And
my hands have been up since.
Yeah, go ahead. KJ is not responsible. Go ahead. You will.
I'll come after you.
Yeah, go ahead. You will like it. Go ahead.
All right. So, my little contribution is that I think we're in a dilemma, right? So, my argument has two sides. Is the fact that I think we need Dangote is one, and we also do not need anything.
KJ, you might be muted, sir.
Can you hear me?
I can hear him.
Yes, I can hear him.
Yeah, KJJ is not speaking. The guy that is speaking this call is the one in the suit. You will like statistics. So go ahead.
Okay. So like I was saying that we are in pretty much a dilemma, right, in Nigeria, because my argument is on two sides. We need Dangote and we do not need him. We need Dangote Industries, 20 more Dangote Industries in Nigeria. 100%. We need that kind of those kind of businesses. But Dangote as a businessman, the type of businessman that he is, Nigeria does not need it. He's parasitic. I mean, David has hammered on it already. He's parasitic. He's monopolistic tendencies, right? It does not help the country grow. It does not help the industry. And I'll point to a couple of things, right? In the last 30 or 40 years, there is no country in the world that has undergone the kind of infrastructural upgrade or infrastructural revolution that China has. No country in the world. And
no, I want you to go straight to the point. Go to the point, so because we have a lot of guys. Just go to the point.
I'll go straight to the point. I just need to round up. I know we have 30 more minutes. So what I'm saying is that in the last 30 years, no country has gone gone through infrastructural revolution or upgrade like China has, and major things that you need for infrastructure, right? Building infrastructure, whether it's buildings, whether it's roads or everything, cement is a major component. Yet China does not have a cement billionaire, right? Cement is something that was invented by the Romans centuries ago, even before Jesus Christ was born. Yet we have a Nigerian that is the richest man in Africa from cement, selling cement, because Nigerians pay more for cement than the average price in the entire world. Nigerians pay more for cement. They are selling expensive cement in Nigeria. Basically, my own point is that Nigeria is so messed up right now that we need Dangote because the people in power are just bloody incompetent. But like I said, my argument has two sides. We also do not need him because of these monopolistic tendencies. We are pretty much in a dilemma now. So what I think they should do is just settle their families' problems. He's in bed with the government. Everybody knows that. Whatever issues they're having, they should settle it and get the refinery working. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
So can I go?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Okay, so here's the thing about Dubai. Good evening, everyone. I don't think they need Nigerians' money, because if they do, they will invest in vetting the people more before they come to their country than having idiots going to the country, going to Dubai and causing chaos there. So they will be the one that do the investment in Nigeria and, how do we fit them better to get the right people to come in, instead of using the fact that you have to put $10,000 down, have $10,000 in your account before, they can even consider you, and, hiking the amount of money that you need for the visa processing or whatever that $600 and something is. So they don't value us because we don't value ourselves. I can speak for myself as an individual of my character, but when you look at it as a whole, Nigerians, what we go and do outside the country, we take what we do in Nigeria, we take outside the country. Courtesan. Yeah, there was a particular video that I saw where young men were attacking themselves through the lift, doing all sorts of things, attacking at the car park. We have, I'm sorry to say, women going to Dubai and doing prostitution and everything, and we're being labeled for that in Dubai. I know the country is sad, but not to going out. It's bad enough that up and down the country there's prostitution. We take out of the country, they get visa going to do prostitution. So I mean, you get fraudsters, the boys in Dubai, all of them cashing out. Fraudsters all over Dubai and everything, giving them bad names. And we know the story of Hush Puppy, the other one I can't remember, Woodbury, all those sort of things that FBI had to go to Dubai to pay these people up. So we ourselves as Nigeria, we're not doing ourselves any favor with all those bad behaviors, right? So now, if you want to go on holiday, maybe you want to go for a break, there are other countries that you can go to if you don't have $10,000. But how do you represent your country when you go to those countries? They're very important.
I just think that your data is correct. We have the bad element there, but have you gone to Dubai? There are Russians that are doing worse than Nigerians. There's a Russian guy jailed, drug guy in Russia, gangs in Dubai, killing people. The Russians have their own special jail in Dubai. The point I'm making is that they don't want us because we're not spending money. It's an economic decision. We don't have any, we're not bringing any benefits to Dubai. We're not spending. Consumption is down. The economy is down. So in the past, Nigerians will go to Dubai and spend money. So it's only politicians that can spend money. So they don't lose anything to kick us out. Even Kenyans spend more Nigerians in Dubai. So I think it's more of an economic thing to kick us out. And that's why if you notice the requirements made, wink and nod, the Dubai guys like it because now they know you can spend. That's why there's specified credit card. You have to pay with it, not debit card, though, credit card. So so how many Nigerians have credit cards? How many? Americans don't have $10,000, but they have credit cards. So they are making it very, very clear. We only want business people that have money. If you're a tourist or you want to come and see, if you see snow for the first time, go to London. Don't come to Dubai. It's an economic thing. They don't want quote unquote poor people in Dubai from Nigeria. Or they don't mind poor people from India and Pakistan that will come and work in their industries, but not from Nigeria. That's what they're basically saying.
Yeah, so that's why I said, they would have invested in vetting the people more.
Yeah, they don't
so they're not willing to do that.
Yeah.
Probably like
Okay,
they don't have that
I got you. Okay, we gotta move. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Good comments. Yeah, we gotta move so that we can just get as much people. But I want to get the Dangote guy in here. Just a quick question for Mr. Dan, not Dangote guy. Is he left? Just a quick question for you. In terms of the pricing, yeah, I know, sir. In terms, sorry, in terms of the pricing, right? What would be the would you say if the price from Dangote would be cheaper for Nigerians because we are refining locally? So the guys listening to me are asking me, what would be the price? Is it going to come down?
It is already cheaper for diesel and it's already cheaper for Jet A1.
From Dangote refinery. So
this has been the point. This has been the point since March. I mean, the refinery has been selling diesel and Jet A1 for a few months now, and it is well below what the market price is.
Let me ask you, let me follow up on that. Is it below market price because NNPC is so inefficient that their cost price has gone up? So look at it this way. Compare what Dangote sells to what, say, South Africa sells. Which is cheaper?
See, it depends, because diesel and Jet A1 are different. PMS is where the interesting thing will come in because PMS is still subsidized to an extent. Right? Now, there is where we will see how the price really plays out. Because diesel was selling at about 1,600 a liter, right? When Dangote started selling, they started selling at 1,200. They brought it down to 1,000. Then they brought it back to about 1,100, 1,200 because of the whole dollar issue, right? Which is about 400 naira cheaper than what was being sold on the market, which is similar to Jet A1. And you can confirm from all the airlines in Lagos, in Kaduna, in Kano, and Abuja, right? The Jet A1 price has also come down.
Yeah, I get you. The point I'm trying to make is this, right? Nigerian costs.
I don't know.
Nigerian costs. So I want to. So Nigerian costs are high because cost of production in Nigeria is high. So, but if I compare the cost of PMS or diesel from Nigeria to South Africa, where that has a.
Can you compare it to Lome?
No. I want to do with South Africa.
Can you compare it to Benin Republic?
No, I want South Africa.
And Niger.
No, I want because
that's not even in the region.
I know.
I know. You compare it to West Africa. Compare it to Ghana. Compare it to Togo. Compare it to Benin Republic. Compare it to Cameroon. Compare it to Niger. Compare it to Burkina Faso.
No, but I want to compare to South Africa for a reason. I know why I'm choosing South Africa because it's a functional. It's a functional economy, right? So it's functional, so that's a market-driven economy. Although
we are also a functional.
Really?
Economy. I wouldn't say we are a ideal economy.
They just call the refinery unlicensed.
See, are you going to say our economy is on life support?
They can't call a refinery in South Africa unlicensed. That's the point I'm making. So, but would you answer the question? Do you think it would be cheaper?
Okay, right.
What do you think it would be cheaper than the diesel in South Africa or PMS? What do you think?
What is the price? What is the price of diesel in South Africa?
I don't know.
Can we look it up? Because I don't know either. Let me look it up. Just give me a second. Yeah. Because this is actually a very good question you're asking, and I want to answer it intelligently without any boo-boo. Okay. Price of, shall we say 1 liter?
Sure.
Price of 1 liter of diesel in SA. Okay. So South African diesel prices, right? It's 1.2. Okay, ZAR Okay, ZAR to NGN. Okay. Okay, so it's about 2,000 naira per liter.
In South Africa. Okay.
Yes.
So it will be cheaper.
And it's about.
Go ahead.
It's cheaper in Nigeria. Nigeria has been crashed to about 1,200.
Okay, so it's cheaper in Nigeria than an economy like South Africa with their high taxes. Okay. So okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and Dangote is going to sell petrol. So Dangote won't sell in dollars. It's going to sell in naira to Nigerian consumers.
Oh, absolutely. I don't sell in dollars. That's insane.
Okay, we're just
dollars. No,
we're just asking.
No. So you see, here's the thing. Like the question is going to be, see, for PMS, right? It's kind of controlled by an NPC. Unlike diesel and everything else, it is controlled by an NPC. So you have to kind of go through them. And this is where we're having a bit of a tete-a-tete, friendly fire, friendly, what do you call it? I don't know what you want to call it. I'm sure you've been seeing the news.
No, we get the point. Okay, just want to get those questions in. And thanks for answering them for us. Let me get Elizabeth in here. Elizabeth, what's your question?
Yeah, hi. I actually don't have a question. I have a very valuable contribution with regards to the Dubai whole fiasco going on.
Please go ahead.
And someone spoke earlier, and I wanted to just correct the person. I'm not sure if it was you that talked about how the UAE won the Nigerian money and all. I actually joined a podcast last week, and I dropped very valuable information that the UAE don't actually want Nigerians' money. 100 people's money is what 3 people in the Gulf will spend. So we are not their market. When Dubai opened up to Nigeria, it was because of Emirates Airline. We are valuable to make their plane full, so they're not having empty legs.
It's the same thing.
So if you noticed,
it's the same
every time they left,
it's the same thing we're saying.
They took their visa with them. Yes.
So we're saying that they want.
Visa with them every time.
Go ahead.
They took their visa with them every time they left, not because of what Nigerians are doing over there. There are other people doing stuff. It's just that thing of, if we can't have you as UAE, the Nigerian 200 million on our flight, no other airline will have you guys. So the visa thing is a control thing for nobody else to have us. Bring us to them. It's not so much about what we are doing over there. There are many other countries doing worse stuff. But our purpose has to be, it's a control thing. They need us for the numbers for their aircraft.
And I completely agree with you. I've made this point over and over that it's an economic thing. Like you rightly said, the visa is attached to the Emirates Airline. So once Emirates stop flying, the visa's left. So completely agree with you. If we have money today, they will ask us to pay 640,000 because they know when Nigerians come, they will spend. I'm not saying they need our spending, but they need to fill the planes. So if you're going to go to the US, you can go through Dubai if you're going to the US. So they want you to use that as a hub. But if you don't have money, they don't want you. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. So, yeah. Elizabeth, thanks for that question. I have a question again for speak. I have a question for you, sir. Let me give you a curveball. Someone says that the subsidy was removed, prices went up, Dangote's prices have come down or are cheaper. He wants you to comment on that. Do you get where he's going to with that? Do you get what he's trying to say?
Sorry, is this for me?
He's saying subsidy was removed, which caused prices to go up. Thus, Dangote's high prices now appear low.
Okay, so you have to look at what is the cost price of crude oil. You have to look at what is the margin in distillation, right? And you have to see, okay, what is the kind of profit the company can make. And honestly, that's where it's at, really, because this is where we always keep saying, NNPC, give us crude oil, and we will be able to.
At what price? International price. You want crude at international price. You want to pay.
If you make Dangote to import crude oil from Brazil, the US, from wherever the hell, right? It will not be the same price as if NLPC gives us crude, it will be a different price. It will absolutely be a different price. That's just the thing.
Gotcha.
But from what I've seen, or at least from what I'm hearing, the NNPC has mortgaged forward crude prices for different loans and different things for a number of years.
So that's why they can't give you. That's why you can't get the product because NNPC has.
Yeah, so I don't know how practical it is for them. If they have contractual obligations to say we have taken loans and we're going to pay back these loans with crude, and we're only drilling 1.8 million per day.
1.2, 1.3.
1.2, whatever it is, right? So that's where the crux of the whole, the whole panorama is. Really.
So NNPC is in breach of contract, and NNPC is owned by the Federation. The Federation is technically in breach.
I don't want to blame anybody because shit happens. Shit happens, right? Shit happens. Things happen and you can't predict the future and all that. So in 2022, NNPC agreed that, okay, fine, we'll give you X amount cash, and then the remainder of this we'll give you with crude oil, right? And they have not been able to meet that obligation with the crude oil.
Are you paying for the crude in Naira or dollars?
I have to go talk to my finance people. I'm not there. I'm not.
Okay. Would you send me a DM if you find out?
I absolutely will. Except that yeah. If you keep it private, yeah.
I will. If you don't want me to reveal it, if you don't want me to say, I can get that information and I can share it without giving any of the.
I can get that information for you in a couple of days. Like the accurate information.
I would appreciate that. I think more information is good.
I can do it too.
You coming here has helped. You see, you coming here has helped. I mean, David is asking you questions. Lots of people are asking me questions. I'm asking you. You should do more of this. You should get your press people to come out and talk to the Nigerians. This is not we're not press, but we are representing a large. Talk more.
And I think you also have to realize that I'm a Twitter user. I'm I'm not that far up the chain. You know what I mean?
You've done a good job.
Right? But I have a lot of information.
Gotcha.
And I don't want to get fired.
Don't worry.
I don't want to get fired. I don't want to get fired tomorrow.
Don't worry. There's GoFundMe. We'll do something on that. Don't worry.
I don't think you understand. Mr. David, please.
He said it's not hiding place, so we'll do GoFundMe. You say
Mr. David, please don't let him get fired. I've exchanged DMs with Mr. David there. This will cost me a lot more than just getting fired.
No, seriously, I think it's very good to have the other side speak. I wish there was someone from the federal government. I completely am responsible taking what you're saying. There are lots of questions I'm not asking you because I think there will be a bit more. But I like that you're here. So
I don't mind.
No, there are some I'm not asking you because I don't want to put you on the spot.
Questions.
Yeah, I don't
mind one or two. I don't mind one or two because
you sure?
I would actually like to take on some of the more incendiary questions. Actually,
I just asked you one now about the.
Give me one.
I actually PMS that the Dangote and the federal government are in cahoots. The federal government removes subsidy, gets their revenues. That makes Dangote's expensive products cheaper. So in effect, you guys are playing tag team, good cop, bad cop. So Dangote is making money off the removal of fuel subsidy in Nigeria.
So the answer to that will be we have not started producing PMS yet. Well, that's actually not true. We have started producing PMS. It's in the tank. It's being tested, and it has to be tested for about 3 weeks for purity, for octane content. You know how in the US you have like 88, 93, and 95, right? If you have a BMW, you have to have like the 95, right?
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yes, premium 95.
Premium. So we're trying to get to that stage where we have, we have the PMS in the tank. We just want to purify it to have it at least 88, right? I want to have at least 93 and 95 options. Whether the distributors will have that option, we don't know, but it'll be there. But what I know is that the previous regime for the last 20 years, forget 88, it's about 70. It's destroyed engines. You get a BMW to Nigeria, right? You're filling it with petrol. Yeah, it's meant to be 95. I lived in the US for almost 10 years, by the way, right? Before I came back to Nigeria. So I know if you have an X5, you better be putting 95.
Premium. You gotta put premium. Right? Very expensive.
Premium.
Yeah.
Absolutely premium, yeah.
That's $70 a tank, man.
Well, I mean, it's expensive, yeah, but you know what I mean, right? You wanna enjoy the. You want to keep it for like 15 years? Well, you better put like premium, right? But here, it's really not even 88. Honestly, it's about 72. It's honestly about 72. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And you have all these luxury vehicles putting in this, 72, and then I 3 years later they're in the tank.
All right, so guys, believe it or not, to spend 3 hours. 3 hours. I know we put a lot on David to do Dangote and Dubai. He has delivered as usual, but I'd like to also respect his time. David, let me just give you, if you want to make any closing remarks, or the floor is yours, and then from there we'll just sort of close the space. Let me just appreciate you for coming first of all, and you got the floor. Please go ahead, sir.
Well, I think everything I need to say has already been said in the tweets that I put out today. So, I mean, hopefully we don't end up seeing a 650,000 barrel Dangote refinery in the hands of a Milik here. I think this has been that's something that will give me nightmares.
Yeah, we want it to work. I think that's just the point. We want every one of these spaces on this space because they want Nigeria to work. We want the Dangote refinery to work. We want cheaper prices. We want to pay less for the common things in life. We want our life to be better. We want our Nigeria to go further. That, I think, is the common trend for everyone that has spoken. The Dubai visa is the exact same thing. Dubai is fun to go to. We don't want to go to borrow money or to pray before we can get funds just to go to Dubai that every other African country is going to. I think it's wrong for the Nigerian government to agree to any of that sort of request that you have to put money down. Special. If Dubai was in the US, they would have sued the US. They would have said you are doing desperate treatment of Nigerians. We would sue them in the class action and would win. So it's wrong to do that, and it's wrong for us to support that sort of demands before you can visit the country when others don't get that sort of demand. We are still Nigerians. We are proud people, and we are not a drag on anybody. We go to your place, we make it better. Believe it or not, that's what it is, right? So on that note, David, thank you so much for accepting to come and talk to us about these two issues that you have deep knowledge on and you've also written about. We appreciate it. Thanks to everyone that has spoken. Guys, it's just that it's 3 hours already. We've got to call it a time on so folks can, go to sleep and all that. It's recorded. Once we're done with the space, it will be on the podcast. You see it on YouTube, Facebook, and also on any podcast that you have. So you can go back and rewind and listen in if you want to. We are here every Sunday, 7 p.m. West African time. We're talking money, politics, the economy, personal finance, things that we make it important to you, right? We try to make it for you to understand those difficult conversations around money. We break it down so you can actually get the true sense of it. I think we've done that today. So I appreciate everyone that has stayed with us so long and has been contributing. On that note, guys, do allow me to close down the space, and I hope I'll see you guys here next week. My name remains Kalu Aja, and thank you so much, guys. David, the rest, have a good time, and bye.
Thank you, Kalu. Thank you so much for your openness. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone else on the panel. Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good one.